Hi, everybody. My name is Donna Gorton. Welcome to my show, Beyond the Veil, on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network. Almost got tongue tied there. So, today we're going to be talking about the awakening process and what it entails, how to know where you're at in the process, etc. It's one of those that can be kind of tricksy. You can even get stuck, and a lot of people actually report getting stuck. So, for those who are watching, perhaps from in the Willows Bend crew, as I had announced in there before, I'm going to be keeping an eye on the comments in the YouTube channel, just to be fair. So Tuesdays, I'm going to do it from the Willows Bend group on Facebook with their chat, and then in here, I'm going to on Thursdays, I'll do it on YouTube. So I'm just going to say a quick hi to let people know I am here in the chat. There we go. So I can see comments as we go along. Excuse me. So, your awakening. There's a lot of talk about this in circles today, especially spiritual circles. And a lot of people, even across non-traditional groups, witchcraft groups, spiritual groups of all kinds, etc., they are noticing a shift that's been occurring. A lot of people having dreams that are all kind of similar in nature to each other with, I know through the witch community in general, a lot of people have reported kind of apocalyptic type of dreams, and others have, but there's differences in each set of dreams for each individual, but that is like the theme of it, which I think is kind of representing both the fears that people are having in today's times, along with one possible outcome of the timeline of things that's where we might be heading towards. I know from my perspective, now for those who haven't encountered me before, I'm a medicine woman. I'm what's considered a wise woman. I'm also an earth witch, which is white magic, and I don't go hurting anybody or turn anybody to toads too often there. Let's see. Hi, Aaron. I see you in chat, as well as Gina. So I'm a little bit of everything in my belief system, very spiritual, and I help with a lot of teaching for people to help with them further along their own path and gain a general understanding of things. Had my own awakening several years ago. It's an ongoing process. It truly is. So typically, before I start in my Willows Bend group, I always do a little group protection circle / blessing for everybody. Everybody likes it when I do that. Got up late, so I need to do my morning routine. Okay, Erin, well, then you're going to miss half the show, sweetheart, but that's okay. All right, so this is just sage that I'm lighting now for anybody not familiar with what it is or my process. So with this sage, I cast a circle of protection around all those who are watching and listening through the Global Enlightenment Radio Network, through Facebook Land, and every other social media site out there who is hearing my show. May nothing negative be allowed to enter into, energy-wise, into the space of the show, and also protect each individual person from harm of any kind approaching them or ill will. And I hope that each person is covered with a sacred white light protection for their own safety and well-being, and that everyone goes forth with positive energy and let your light shine through. So I will it, so mote it be. With this sage, I cleanse these stones of all energies except for their own, the hopes that they will work with mine. And I sage myself of all energies except for my own, and I put a blockage against any negative influence or ill will meant against me or mine within my home, my animals, etc. remain protected. So I will it, so mote it be. So we're going to just let that burn, and I got a little dish that I keep it in. It's always good to have a fire safe dish if you're going to do something of that nature, obviously, so you don't light the place on fire, right? Okay, Erin. Thank you, Gina. I know it throws me off because it's normally nighttime when I start the Willow's Bend show. So, not used to seeing the light. It's not sunny out, but it's, I guess, partially, but it's supposed to be. We have a wind chill advisory in effect here in upstate New York. It's supposed to be with wind chills to minus 24 below zero tonight. Yeah, really nippy. I will avoid being outside in it if I can help it. Thank you, Gina. I appreciate that. So, the awakening, what is it? Let's start there as a basic. If anybody can go and make sure it got shared into Willow's Bend for me, I would appreciate it. I did share it there, but people might have forgotten about it because of the new time. Normally, I go on at 8 o'clock Eastern time at night. So my crew isn't used to me starting at 8 p.m. or sorry, 4 p.m. What's the temperature now? I can't access it while I'm on the air, Gina, but it's cold. But we have the wind chills that are down, 24 below zero, It's cold. Hi, Sandy. Thank you for sharing me, Chris. I did put it in Willow's Bend and on Beyond the Veil page, but I didn't stick around to make sure it posted correctly. I got back over here to be ready to start on the air. So, yeah. So anyone on air who's watching sees me looking down to the side. I have my secondary device where I can watch the YouTube chat and respond to it from there. So, and then my notes are here. I got my dogs and my cat. Where's my cat? Oh, she's over on this side too. So, yeah, Gina, 24 below zero. Yeah, definitely nippy here tonight. So, hopefully, the dog will recognize that and make it quick trips in and out. Yeah, brr. So, your awakening, what is it? Let's get talking about this and dive in. Now, there are some quizzes, signs that you can kind of just, even if you grab a piece of paper and a pencil, pen, whatever you have handy. I know many who are listening globally, it's a different time of day for you, depending on what time zone you're in, etc. Some of you may be driving, so I would not recommend doing the quiz then. Obviously, if you're cooking, taking care of your children, whatever, do it as you can or follow along. But so what is the awakening in general? So first of all, it's being spiritually aware or, quote, awake above the average level of most people. It's that moment when you kind of recognize with whatever your foundation of beliefs are. Now, this is not saying in any way, shape, or form that there is anything wrong with your foundation of beliefs, whatever they are. I'm not here to judge, and I don't. And so whatever somebody chooses to believe in, I obviously, I understand no matter where you go with your beliefs, you're never going to totally walk away from what is your core foundation. That which you got taught during your early years when your personality was forming and so forth, when your parents may have been choosing your path for you. You kind of went along with it because you had to, but that's what got integrated and set into your mind space, that these are the rules to which to live by and to follow, and that's all there is. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, no matter what those beliefs are. And please understand that is the point I come from. But I work with a lot of people on integrating to understand that your awakening is kind of like if you picture your beliefs being in a box of, whatever kind, and it's a closed box. So say whether it's Muslim, Christianity, whatever, you got your beliefs are in a box. Well, your awakening is like opening the flaps up on the box so that it's kind of able to expand and grow, to understand that there is more out there than what you may have been taught, and it's integrating it in with your foundation. Hey, Stacy, how are you, beautiful sister? So that's really like what it is about, is expanding that which you have as your foundation, growing it and learning more. Always, there's always more to learn, so it's always a continual process. And forgive me, I'm going to grab my sinus medicine because I'm noticing how snuffly I am. My normal crew who are watching are used to me and my allergies. One of those things. I live in a very older, dusty house. The furnace probably hasn't been cleaned since 1975. I mean, I just a guess, but yeah, it's not something they probably keep up with. And I'm highly allergic to dust, so I try to filter it as I can, but yeah, so I get snuffly. But anyway, so 18 signs of your that you're in your awakening now. So you're going to give yourself 1 point each, if each one for each one that applies to you, and then tally it up at the end of how many you have, and that's going to let you know why you're having your awakening now. And again, if if you can grab paper and pencil, pen, whatever, then please do. If you can't, that's okay. Follow along as best you can. It'll at least give you an idea of what to watch out for or be aware of as those changes are happening, because it's a process and there are steps to it. I can say honestly, from having gone through it myself before, that yeah, it's a hugely kind of earth-shattering personal growth thing that is kind of mind-blowing when it's happening. But once you start seeing and noticing, you can't unsee and unnotice. But it's not a bad thing. Personal growth is never bad. And seeing that there is more to it than what you've been led to believe, that's not a bad thing either. It's just an expansion. We as humans, we don't like change. We drag our feet on changing unless it's forced upon us, and it doesn't have to be that way. It's with the understanding that change can be good and lead to a broader expansion of who you are as a person, your outlook on the world, and what your place in the world is, and why you're here. I definitely follow a more spiritual path and understanding of things metaphysically and so forth. Some might categorize it as New Age, but it really is actually very ancient beliefs, but it kind of saw a resurgence in beliefs, so people labeled it as New Age, but it's not. It's very ancient. So let's see. There. So the 18 signs that, again, you're going to give yourself 1 point each for each one that is applicable to you. So the first one is intensified perception. Perceptions are more vivid and direct, seeing the world in a more childlike way, and you're struck by the wonder and the beauty of that which is around you. You're suddenly like taking time to notice that stuff, where you may, in the hustle and bustle of adult life, we get busy and we get focused on the materialistic things of the world, the schedules for the kids, and all the places we have to take them and do and keep up with the housework, and we're already on to the next task before we get finished with the one we're on. And that's normal to be in that place when you're raising children. Hey Karen, you are in the YouTube chat, correct? How you feeling, honey? So you have, you oftentimes, at least for me, when I had my daughter, I got a chance to experience all that stuff again, and even beyond it, because I had to grow up very quickly in my family and take on adult responsibilities at a very young age. And I kind of missed out on a lot of that normal developmental stuff that we go through as kids. I didn't have that in my childhood. So some of it really was experiencing it for the first time and being completely gobsmacked by it, just like, wow, holy cow. And sometimes I even think I would get more excited about something than she maybe did, because it was my first time experiencing it and just being floored by it. Stopping to take the time to notice the beauty of a ladybug crawling on a leaf of a plant, or noticing the colors of a sunset or sunrise, things of that nature. but Tesla visited yesterday and showed me his hands. Ah, that's funny, Karen. For those who don't know what that reference is, I did a show on Tuesday night here on Global Enlightenment Radio Network where I had brought um, Tesla through in order to speak to the group, and we had a group conversation with him, and she was fascinated by the fact that how it focused on him having very large hands. So that's what she's talking about. He visited her and showed her his hands. Were they really big? Oh, and for anyone who happens to be interested in calling into the show, if you have a comment to add, a question, whatever, um, the number for the United States is area code 929-436-2866. And the meeting ID number that you enter when prompted is 522-657-2748. And if you happen to be in Australia, it's 612-8015-6011. And again, the meeting ID number is the same. It's 522-657-2748. Just, follow the prompts. And then Katie, who is running the show behind the scenes today, she will answer the call and then let you through to me. So, and announce you and take you off of the mute part of it. He declined the energy ball. He was comical, 3 times the size of mine, but I have tiny hands. Yeah, you're a petite person, so I would expect that they would be bigger than yours. Okay, so one point, if you have your perceptions are vivid and direct, you're seeing the world through childlike way, struck by the wonder and the beauty of the world. The world's a much more brighter and fascinating place. You're captivated by nature, and you can have more sensitivity and openness to experience than you perhaps used to look at things through. So 1 point for that applies. Number 2, more presentness and timelessness. Now, when you're present, the present time that we're in right now, the now moment of things, you're not stuck in dealing with the past. You are not hyper focused on what comes next. You're in the now moment, right? And so when you're there, the present becomes much more important and becomes relevant, if you will. You take more time, and it's more important to be in the now moment when you experience that. You spend less time recalling the past or looking forward to future events, and you focus on present experiences that are happening to you. Time can seem to slow down, speed up, or even disappear altogether. An eternal now, when past, present, and future all can merge into one, is another way of looking at it. And I know for myself, I often lose track of time. I happen to be a night owl, so that's right there. I call the people who function on a daytime schedule the daylighters, just to be funny. And then the coffin is opening or closing when I go to bed or get up. But, it oftentimes, yes, I lose track of time, or it flies by, or I forget about it, or, it's hard to stay in the now moment with time, because on the other side of things, time is a very fluid thing. It can move forward or backward with equal ease. We are the only beings in the universe that clock it in a straight line of a timeline. It doesn't work that way for beings on the other side of the veil. And that is a lot of what I've experienced from them. I am a psychic medium, and I can, frequently have conversations with those on the other side. They validate that for me, as well as my own spirit guides and stuff too. It all blends together. So 1 point, if that fits you. Number 3, you have an awareness of presence, or as an all-pervading spiritual energy. You become aware of spiritual force that's sometimes called source energy. Sometimes you might call it God or Allah, whatever name you give that higher power, that there's something out there bigger than us that has created everything that's here, that is natural, and kind of is overseeing things. So you become aware of that force. and that it's in all things, and now you feel it both within you and all around you, versus it being just something in a book, that a spiritual book or a religious book that you follow, and having it be an obscure idea. Now you're able to kind of feel that energy around you and within all living things, that there is a connectivity there with those things, and that all living things, no matter what category that falls into, animal, plants, whatever, they all have their own consciousness and soul of some sort, and it's different than ours, yes, but it's still there nonetheless. Science has even come forward saying trees talk to each other, which I've been aware of for quite some time now, but science is catching up to that they do communicate, that even grass and stuff, like when you're mowing the grass, for example, that grass, when you look back at what you just mowed, half of it is, standing back up, and it looks like you missed a whole patch, when in reality, it laid down to get out of the way of the blades coming by. And it so hence didn't get cut, and even dandelions, whatever. And once you're done mowing, they pop back up. You ever notice that? It's a thing. So even if you're not the one doing the mowing, you can still be aware of that. So that is a thing. I'm going to switch power cords, because on this, it's an old tablet that I have that I access the YouTube chat with, and it drains the battery quick in here. It's kind of just one of those things. So I have to keep back and forth between tablets. So one point, if that bits, that you become more aware of that greater force within everything around you, and you're noticing it, you're feeling that energy. Number 4 is awareness, harmony, and connectedness. Having a sense of allness. Everything living becomes brighter and more powerful to you. You're able to sense the energies, again, surrounding you. Karen says she loves watching plant life react. Oh, absolutely. And even if you've ever watched even videos of them responding once the sun comes up and reaches them, of them opening back up to receive the sunlight and the energy from the sun, or sunflowers when they are missing out on the sun, the heads will normally be facing the sun, but they'll turn to face each other to share that energy between each other if sunlight's not open to them. So they have that awareness, and they do talk to each other. Welcome back, Karen. So you sense a feeling of harmony in the universe amongst all things, and again that fluidness, that of the melding of energies, the connectivity of everything. So 1 point for that. Excuse me, if that fits you. Number 5, you have a new sense of self, effective characteristics. So your inner life has or is changing. There's a shift in how you feel inside, and you almost feel reborn and seeing with new eyes to everything surrounding you. So you were less than 20 minutes. They timed you, Aaron. So you pick up on those things, that you sense that there is a shift, and you're just noticing that you're starting to see more, you're feeling more, you're experiencing more. It's a real thing. So 1 point for that, if that applies. You can have an inner quietness. Number 6, there's less of your inner noise or chatter that goes on. Our normal chatter is always there and can give rise to negative emotions and thoughts, and it kind of can feed into itself, especially if you're experiencing like depression. You feed itself. You start having negative self-talk going on, or parent tapes perhaps are playing, or something somebody else said to you. If you're prone to depression, well, you take that on and you feed it by continuing it, and answering one negative thought leads to more. And did you wash your hair too? I don't know, but that's about. And so you get your inner noise, where you're talking to yourself in especially negative ways, tends to go down. So 1 point for that, if that applies. Number 7, transcendence of separation / a sense of connection. You no longer feel like you're You're observing the world at a distance, but are now more connected to all things. The more connected to the aforementioned spirit force, the God power, the source energy, whatever name you call it in your own belief system. So there's a more of an awareness, and you feel less distance from it. And again, there's more connection to it rather than a separation of that's just something up in the sky that you say prayers to and hope for the best. It's now a more a give and take and a flow of energy. So 1 point for that if that applies. Number 8 is empathy and compassion. With that sense of connectedness, you feel more from living things. And if they're suffering, we suffer, and we have a need to try to comfort them. So if a lot of us are empathic in nature, that's one of the most basic gifts that people can have in terms of having gifts. And that's the most basic one that most people have, is an empathic sense of picking up emotions from other people, being able to tell if someone is lying or not. That you're just more sensitive to that stuff. So this is having, if you see something that is heartbreaking, or whether it's a person or an animal in need or being troubled by something, you want to make it better. You want to help comfort them, give them a hug, whatever it is to make it better. And you're more willing to do so. So 1 point for that if that fits. Number 9 is well-being. You feel more content than most people. You're less prone to negative states like boredom, loneliness, and dissatisfaction. You have a higher sense of gratitude. So to kind of give an example of this, there was a moment I had, I don't know, I want to say maybe in the summertime, just sitting here and I was doing my own thing and it was quiet. I wasn't being messaged by anybody or talking with anyone. I was just watching something, and it just suddenly struck me that I could say with all 100% honesty that I was content. I was content with where I was with myself in the world around me. And I had all of my needs were met, and a lot of my wants were as well. There was nothing I was lacking, and that I could, for the first time in my life, genuinely feel and say, I am content. And it was that awareness. So, and you have gratitude, you count your blessings. And I always tell everybody that I don't ever get bored. There's always something to do or get involved with. And I know a lot of people who deal with, say, chronic pain issues and are disabled or have, cognitive impairment of some kind or some other form of disability. And they feel like, they're not a part of the world as a whole anymore. So, and they just kind of withdraw from society, and they live vicariously through everybody else around them, staying in a loop of gossip and residing in that place, but never taking on anything of their own to get involved. And, I, on the other hand, chose. When I became disabled, it was unacceptable for me to sit on my ass and do nothing with my time and with my education level and all the, I don't even know how many hours of training. Let's put it this way. I have a whole 3-ring binder notebook of all the training certificates I've received throughout my career. And it was unacceptable just to have it sitting there doing nothing. Like, I couldn't not do that. And I understood that my purpose in this life is to help others. So I had to get involved and do something. So being lonely and bored, that never happens, because there's always something to do, something to get involved with, somebody to reach out to bring comfort to, or, hobbies, activities. There's always stuff to do. So 1 point for that, if that fits you. Okay. Number 10, the absence of or lowering of fear of death. Now, a lot of people are just scared to die because they don't really fully know what's on the other side of the veil, or they don't trust. And even if they've been taught that this is what happens when you die, you go through this process, people are still genuinely scared and terrified of what they're going to encounter when they get there. And they will do everything in their power to avoid death if possible. And so your ego isn't as big as it once was. So its demise, i.e., dying, no longer seems like a tragic prospect. You know death isn't the end, and that the essence of your being will continue on after the loss of this bodily shell that we're in. That's not it. So when you die, you don't cease to exist. There is a knowing that this is just one leg of the journey, and you don't need this shell anymore. And so, it kind of ends up failing you and breaking down over time as you get older, etc. Aaron says, I am not scared to die anymore. Due to our euphemism, we don't die anymore, we pass on. Exactly. But that is part of that passing on to the next level, the next stage of the journey, and crossing over and having, that process occur. A lot of people are truly, genuinely afraid of what they're going to encounter on the other side. If you led a life that, well, let's face it, isn't such a great one, with poor choices that have led to a ton of legal issues, a life of crime, in and out of prison, what have you, or more in prison than out even. There's always been a school of thought regarding, if you have a belief in like haunted properties and so forth, that prisons are always full of activity, because those beings look at it that even though prison's unpleasant, they know what to expect from that. And they're afraid of the possible judgment they're going to face on the other side based on their belief systems and so forth. So there's that fear of death. Katie says, many HSPs are known to not fear death. HSPs, not familiar with that one, Katie? I'm sure I know what it is, just not by initials. Highly sensitive person. There we go. Thank you. Yeah, and that's true. Not afraid of death. There is no fear in that. So if that fits and you have that fear of death anymore, then 1 point for that. Number 11 is the lack of a group identity. Whereas people have always felt the need to categorize themselves, give us labels, Democrat, Republican, American, whatever. Now there's less of a need to have a pride in labels, because they've become more superficial and meaningless. And yep, she's highlighted. Gina's amazed by your highlighting. She's running the broadcast on the other side of the veil from her end, on this plane of that veil. She's running things today. So you're just weird, but that's okay. And you get less concerned about fitting in and having to have that label to identify with, or to be a part of a group identity. There's less of a need of that. So, it becomes kind of superficial. And I know myself, I've had lots of arguments with people. Well, not arguments, discussions, we'll say that, to where, I won't get into political debates with people, because a lot of people can't handle it and get upset by it, and it turns into a big fight. And I always say, it's not about whether, you're red or you're blue or where you fall on that spectrum. It is, what's in the best interest of the greater good that matters more. And so I won't give myself a label with that. I'm seeing humanity, I'm good. Yeah, no, but it's not, it's a less of a need of having labels to identify with. Like, you're okay with you. You also feel less judgmental toward other religions, and realize that the different traditions are simply expressions of the same underlying truth, which is also something I figured out along the way too, is that, across the board. Hi, Marianne, how are you, sweetheart? Across the board, that Aaron says, screw red and blue, I'm purple. See, across the board, that you like the main message underneath everything else that humanity has added to mainstream religions. The truths are the same in there. Be the best kind of person you can be. Don't go hurting other people. Conduct yourself in a certain way with love, always from a standpoint of love, and don't give in to the hatred and stuff. All those things are commonalities across all belief systems. So it becomes less important what label you're giving yourself for a specific religious group as much as having, the understanding of the underlying belief system is really the same. Blowing Aaron's line of sand. Nevada is also purple. I have to draw my line in the sand. You're funny. So 1 point for that, if that fits, that you don't need the labels and such. Number 12 is a wider perspective, a universal outlook on things. You find that you're not as preoccupied with your own personal problems to the exclusion of all else. You're more aware of how your life choices affect others or the earth itself. You may make choices to live more responsibly or ethically. Global and social issues are more important. So many people who have not had their awakening yet still kind of reside in this bubble of self-inclusion, to where as long as they and their immediate family are good, then they tune out the rest of the world. There's not a global sense. If they watch the evening news, it's more of a, oh, that's too bad. Honey, do you want to be here while I'm up? There's not an internalization of that we all should be working as a team here from the same race for the greater good of all. It's more of, hey, as long as we're good, we're good, So it's that understanding. Doctor's orders, I need to wear my lungs. You're funny. Sage is used a lot in multiple religions. Correct. Blowing, really, Karen? I'd get my dollar bill rolled up. Interesting discussion happening in YouTube chat. So yeah, you feel like, you understand it's bigger than just you and your little circle of your own little backyard and your own little town and your country. It's global, and it's beyond that. It's a sense of everything, the connectivity of all things. So 1 point for that if you get that. Number 13, you have a heightened sense of morality. You not just share kindness and compassion to those that you have superficial similarities to or with, but you extend your benevolence to all people. Your sense of right or wrong comes from an innate knowing and is also culturally or religiously driven. Justice and fairness becomes universal laws, even if you go against legal laws or rules to uphold your moral principles. Oftentimes I've said, stand up for what you believe in, even if you stand alone. And I truly stand by that belief that if I feel that something is wrong, I'm going to stand up for the rights of whomever is involved, even if it goes against whatever standard. If I believe it's right, I'm going to, do my part to make it and see it through. And it doesn't matter if anyone's standing with me. It's still going to be speaking my truth. So it's not just showing superficial kindness to somebody. Hi, how are you? But not caring about what the answer is. There's more of a genuine caring, and your understanding of right and wrong becomes much more expansive. And you're more willing to go to bat for your beliefs, but not in a bad way. Karen says, I've stood alone many times. Me too. I highly recommend it. Yep. And Aaron says, I'm strong enough to stand alone. Yes. And the great thing with that is that oftentimes once you've had your awakening, you're not going to stand alone, because there literally are millions around the world also experiencing the same stuff. So number 14, so 1 point for that if that fits. Number 14, appreciation and curiosity. You truly feel grateful for what you have. You have the ability to count your blessings. You become more eager to explore new things and experiences and take on new challenges. So you're not living within, again, your own little eggshell of things. You're willing to be grateful for what you got, and it's not always about what you don't have or keeping up with the Joneses, so to speak, with materialistic things. That there's more out there than just that to be concerned with, and that you're happy, you recognize, hey, my basic needs are met. I don't have to have the bigger, the better toys. Um, Aaron says, I love when others stand with me, but it's okay, and I understand if they don't or can't correct. And, so it's you come to learn that it's not all about the materialistic things that should drive you, and that you're able to count your blessings. Even the person with the most depressive seeming life, who has so little physically or materialistically, there are still blessings to be counted, whether it's your health, your family, your friends, the support or love of them, that you are alive to breathe the air that day, whatever it is. You're able to look at that separately. Gina says, I'll bring my stilts so I can stand around in with you. Are you that short, Gina? So number 15, altruism and engagement. You feel more strongly about helping people and changing the world for the better. Again, you start to look at what is in the greater good of all, rather than just yourself or your own little corner. If your corner is good, then you're good. No, it's understanding that, hey, this tragedy is happening out there, and this involves real people who are dealing with these real life struggles, and then making those decisions from there with stuff of, where do I go from here? But on a global, let's help each other mentality. You're 5'1". I think Karen's actually more petite than you are, Gina. And Aaron's right there with you, so we got a short people in chat today, but that's okay. So 1 point if that fits you. Number 16, enjoyment of activity, the ability to just, quote, be. You stop hating being alone or having quietness and start to relish it instead. You don't need endless jumping from one activity or another, because you realize that you're okay. You're good with your own company and your own solitude. Yes, I thought Karen was less than that. Signs can vary from person to person. You can do it while sleeping and not know it. If you, wait a second, did I skip a page? I might have. Yes, I did. So sorry. I was like, that doesn't make sense for what we were just discussing. I have a notebook with many topics in it, so they just kind of go from one page to the next. So you're okay with your own company. You're good with just being in the moment with yourself, and you're not bothered by the silence or overwhelmed by it. And you're perfectly fine and accepting of yourself, that it's okay, and you relish that time to regroup, rejuvenate, etc. And if you're an empath, it's almost a necessary thing that you have some of that time to yourself to recharge your batteries from the energies out in the outside world that you're encountering every day. That can get overwhelming for some people. So you have to be able to pull back, recharge, do something for you. And that's usually something that's creative in nature or artistic, musical, what have you, in order to rejuvenate yourself, to go back out and help others again, and to be, back in the thick of it and picking up on all those energies yourself. So 1 point for that, if that fits you, that you're okay with just being. It's never misplaced and it cannot be simulated. I'm not sure what you're referencing, Aaron. Okay. So number 17, 1 point for the other if you're not. You're not Borg. Non-materialism. Your impulse to accumulate things falls away. You no longer try to give yourself a sense of security by having things. You move towards trying to contribute rather than take away. And I can honestly say, yes, I was at that place at one time where having things to demonstrate where I was in life, hey, I made it from here, point A to point B, and look what I have to show for it. That really was the priority, and you move away from that into a place where the materialistic things become less important. Not saying you don't care about physical items, that traditional things that maybe have a history in your family or passed down to you, but you could lose half of your stuff and it really wouldn't be too much of a big deal if you did. So 1 point for that if that fits. Number 18 is that you live more authentically. We've been taught to be a product of our environment, our culture, etc. Now, though, you're more likely to follow your own impulses rather than what society says is okay. You have more confidence in your choices, and you are more likely to stand by them, regardless what anyone else thinks about them. Anyone else's opinions become less important in the whole process of things. Like, it stops mattering what everyone else thinks about you, and we're often taught to worry about that, what everyone else thinks, and what is so-and-so going to think if I go public with this. You stop caring. Sorry, my chat is showing up kind of wonky in YouTube, and I'm trying to fix it. I have an arrow, and I don't know why. Okay, well, worst case, I will close out and reopen it. So yeah, you're less worried about what other things and are trying to please everybody. That can be an issue too, where we just get hyper focused on stuff with always worrying what everyone else is going to think about us. What are they saying about us? You know what? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Okay, so big dick energy is described as confidence without cockiness. It's never misplaced and it cannot be simulated. Gotcha. So, that's 1 point for that you live more authentically. You stop worrying what everyone else thinks. You have more confidence in your own choices. Number 19, you have more authentic relationships. So your relationships are deeper. You shift your focus away from wearing the mask that everybody has a different mask that they wear with each person they interact with. You're this person to this one. You have to be this way for this to meet this person's expectations. You get rid of the mask and you say, this is who I am, whether anyone likes it or not. This is me. I am me. Accept me or not, love me or hate me. I don't care. It's your choice. If you don't like me, well, I'm sorry to hear that, but whatever, it stops being so important. Yeah, I didn't know what you were referencing with your earlier post, Erin. So you tend to ditch the mask and move towards just being you, and that's it. So you add up your points. That's like the end of that part of the quiz thing, and see how many you got. And that'll at least give you an indication of whether you have already started your awakening or if you're in the middle of the process of it anyways. And I'm going to switch notebooks because at different times I've covered this topic but got much more expansive on it in other shows. So to kind of delve into indicating where you are on the path of your awakening and the process of it. So how'd you guys do on the quiz, or were you not really doing it? Let's see what everybody says. We have to wear our masks or we can't go to the store. Well, that's true, Gina. That's not the materialistic masks I'm talking about. I'm talking about the masks of being a certain person to a certain way to each person. Sandy got 18. Excellent. I basically have an attitude. I want to help everyone laugh, and through laughter they can live a little. So I take it Aaron wasn't doing the quiz because he wouldn't have the attention to stay focused on it without being distracted with 10 other things. Yeah, so it's about getting rid of that. Well, to my mom, she sees me as this person. My best friend, she sees me as this fun, loving person, so I always have to be that. This person always expects me to be a serious person. You stop trying to be everything to everybody in different ways. Yeah, integrate it together to be who you are. Missed most of it while I was grounding. About half of it, Erin. Oh, okay. Gina's being goofy, and I just took it literally because I'm only reading and not seeing your expressions. Sorry. Okay, so anyways, the process of your awakening. Now, some of this might be the same, but again, it's to help you identify where you are in your process and to figure that out because there are stages you go through, and not everybody's in the same stage. Everybody is around the world. You know, some people aren't ready to start having their awakening happen. It's not something you can force on somebody. I often tell people who listen to me talk that I look at it as kind of like we're way showers. You know, those of us who consider themselves light workers, we're here to reach out our hand to others, say, here, I'll help you if you want the help. But if not, okay, good luck where you are, and I'm going to keep moving on to the next person who doesn't perhaps want the help. And they are ready to make the changes and accept them rather than staying where they are. And if there's nothing wrong with it, choosing to stay where you are, that's a personal choice, and you have to be ready to make that shift for yourself, or it's not going to work. Aaron says, there are things I do hide from people because it's not appropriate to go into, or it's not something I want the general public to know. Well, that's different on social media. It's that we all keep certain things about ourselves or our core selves to ourselves. Or it only comes up randomly, and like, what is some hidden talent you have that nobody else knows about, that type of thing. Welcome back, Karen. It's not something you typically bring up to people, but hey, since you asked the question, I'll answer it. I like grape jelly on scrambled eggs. That's not something widely known about me, but yeah, I do. I like that. But it doesn't come up in average conversation, or things that, you just do privately. Of course, there's always that, but this is like different personalities you take on to accommodate other people, to keep them being happy with who you are, like to meet their expectations of you. Like I've met a lot of people on this journey who don't want their family to know that they're having this journey because they don't want the backlash. And it's kind of like, you have to get to that place where it doesn't matter. You're going to be you. And if they really love you like they say they do, they will love you unconditionally and be supportive of you no matter what your path is. And just because it's not their way doesn't mean that your way is wrong. So, where's my lid? So the awakening, again, is like a shift in your consciousness in which your thinking and awareness separate. And it's not like an event, but it's more of a process. You don't ever fully finish it because there's always more to learn, always more to grow and understand. It's almost like putting together, those huge, like 500-piece puzzles of a New England landscape, like out in the country where you have a cajillion things going on. It's kind of like that, where you try to fit the puzzle pieces together as you go along to make sense of it. When we're reborn into a new life, we choose to forget that which we already knew on the other side, to learn stuff fully, without being influenced by that side of things in which we already know, because you can't learn if you are being influenced in any way by that side of stuff and that already having the answers. Well, then what would be the point in coming back and having new experiences, right? So we kind of choose to blank ourselves out coming into a new life. You may come to understand things again by reconnecting to the other side of things and how things are done and whether it resonates as truth with you or not. But beyond that, it's one of those things that this puzzle piece, it's like getting a sky piece of the puzzle that's blue. Well, so are 237 other pieces blue, but it's figuring out where that one blue piece would go in the 500-piece puzzle. Grape jelly. Oh, you've had that, Sandy? Yeah, it is yummy. My hidden talent, says Sandy, is picking up things with my toes. Monkey toes. We call that in my family because we do the same thing. It's monkey toes. Aaron says, I have tons of hidden talents. Don't ask me what they are. They're hidden, hence the name Hidden Talents. Hi there. How are you? Welcome, welcome. So it's a conscious connection with the universal intelligence of all things, and one makes a conscious choice to be present rather than indulge in useless thinking. Not going to waste your time anymore. I can wiggle my ears, and I can wiggle one eyebrow at a time too. How about that? So, in the early stages of your awakening process, what drives the world no longer drives you. It doesn't really apply anymore. So, it's seeing the insanity of the world or civilization can make you feel alienated from the culture around you. You start to feel like you're standing on the outside looking in rather than, being in the thick of things, because your views may start to change to where it's just not applicable anymore. You don't abide by the illusions that you're taught through society standards of, being part of a cow following the herd, rather than learning to think and stand on your own 2 feet, which is a big part of the difference here that happens naturally, I think, with the process that, you're always taught as you enter school and stuff that it's best to be, stay in line and don't speak out of turn and do what everyone else is doing, and fit in with everybody else, be the same and don't be unique. If you are unique, you get labeled as being a problem child or having issues and whatever, and you're not appreciated for the uniqueness that is you. And so this is kind of stepping outside of that and recognizing, hey, my uniqueness is cool, and I relish that. So tried muscles don't work that way for me. I can't do it as well with my glasses on, but I can do it. Let me see. There we go. I wiggled my ears for everybody. So I'm multi-talented. Wiggle my eyebrows independently. I can wiggle my ears. See? Anyway, I digress. So you're no longer run by ego. The rising awareness hasn't yet fully integrated into your life. Inner and outer purpose has yet to merge together into one. And so for me, back in the day, I was a full-blown goth. I took the saying, you laugh at me because I'm different. I laugh at you because you are all the same. But that's correct. And, so back then even, you stood outside of the crowd and the herd, if you will, and it was okay. You relished the fact that you were different. I think it's not unusual for teenagers to do that when you start to have that awareness that you don't want to be the same as everybody. You're trying to figure out who exactly to be as a teenager and to find your own identity separate from your parents and your family. So you kind of go way out on a limb to be really different. So, I'd rather be different than follow a path. Yes. Robotic. Right. I laugh at the fact that my vehicle is a trailblazer, and I think it's funny because it mimics my personal life, and I make my own trails. I always have. So what are the symptoms of the awakening? So these are 10 common signs that you're going to experience, and some of these are different than what I presented before. It's more like think of it as adding on to it. So there is a teacher named Deepak Chopra, who many are aware of in that metaphysical realm of things. Hi, Annette. How are you, sweetie? Karen says, I just follow my path the guide makes me. Absolutely, but it tends to not be what the herd does. You must admit that. Here's the thing, there were many goths back in that day, but we all had different styles. Yes, absolutely. My mother always used to say to me, that's all you ever wear is black or white. And sometimes I branch out and I wear a different shade of white. It was easier to have that choice. So Deepak Chopra says that awakenings happen when you no longer are living in a dream world where everything is filtered through your ego and is focusing on just one's past and future. You gain an awareness between yourself and a connection to everything else, which is true. Again, your ego gets in your way, your conscious ego. So for a little bit of a backstory to things, if you will, or back explanation. So you have two egos, right? You have your conscious ego, which is the ego of your awakened, your your daylight self, if you will. You're when you're not asleep, when you're woke up, you're going about your business. Your consciousness that has its own ego, where it's comfortable in the 3D reality in which society has created around you. You get up, you follow the same path, you follow the same process, you get into your habits and your little rituals, and you follow traditions, and you don't break away too far out to either extreme. You live up to people's expectations and so forth. It's happy with that. Then you have your soul self ego, which is a different kind of an ego. Now your conscious waking ego kind of sees that as a threat of, oh no, we like it just the way it is. Don't come in here and making all these sweeping changes. No way. And it's not about that. It's getting them to learn to work and play nice together, and as a team for your greater good. And it's true, sometimes you have like a really life altering, humbling experience that can cause your conscious ego to lessen greatly. That's kind of what happened with me, but it's different for everybody. But through over time, your conscious ego lessens to where all those materialistic things become less important. The chaos and the clutter of life, they belong elsewhere besides in your circle of things. You have less tolerance for the BS out there, and you're willing to walk your own path and say F everybody else. Like, I wasn't still I'm a fetish goth, okay? Let's see. I've been struggling since then, but finally got on YouTube chat. Yay! And then Johnson, I'm super happy to get into the chat. Cool. Yeah, if nothing else, if you don't see it like open, look for, it looks like a little chat head bubble in the initial line next to where you like it, the show or not. Next to there, it'll say live chat. Click on that and it will drop down for you. Usually, if it's an active live chat going on, anyway. So, number one, the first of the 10 signs is that you observe your patterns. One of the first signs is noticing up till now, you've been an observer, witnessing how you do your life. For example, do I really need to drink so much? Why do I get angry so often? Why am I always comparing myself to others? Start asking yourself these questions. Why do I attract so much note changing, page flipping, drama? And so you start to kind of ask yourself those questions of the whys. Why is my life the way it is? How come? Why does it have to be this way? And you don't necessarily have answers in that moment of why, and you're not necessarily ready to make any changes in those areas right yet, but you start to question it and your place in the world. Love you too, Annette. Absolutely. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, the IVA login, isn't that Melissa? Please forgive me if I have it wrong. You've only came into chat once before. Under that login, I'm trying to make sure I remember who you are. Some of you have different YouTube names than you do on Facebook. Number 2, you feel a sense of connection. Connection comes from shared humanity. Taking interest in your community, volunteering or helping others. Again, Tammy, thank you. I was like, Melissa isn't right, but I can't remember who else it is. Sorry, Tammy, it is you. My apologies, honey. I do appreciate you being here. Like I said, I'm just getting used to people's different YouTube names versus Facebook. So I'm glad you're here anyway, Tammy. So you start taking interest in your community outside of your bubble. We talked a minute ago about that bubble of, hey, as long as me and mine are cool, then the rest doesn't matter. That tragedy happening. What was that noise I just heard? That was weird. Huh. No clue. As long as that are like, you're watching the news and you see about a whole like city got leveled by tornadoes and stuff. And oh, honey, isn't that terrible? Look at that, what those poor people are going through. Hey, what do you want for dinner? Can you turn the microwave back on for me? It's like that disconnect for just a split second. You're paying attention to the rest of it. Tammy is Iva. That's her login for YouTube. An old soul, my grandma, no problem. Cool. So you start to recognize that, it does outside of yourself, and you start becoming aware of your community around you and helping more than just your immediate family and friends. You're willing to do for strangers, etc. You start asking why someone does something different rather than judging someone. So instead of being so quick to judge everybody who's having something going on, you stop and ask yourself what else could be going on for them that's leading to that behavior. It's not so much about shaking a finger at somebody and, oh, you're wrong and you should do it my way, and why aren't they? Phone call. What's the question mark about, Sandy? You're not so quick to shake a finger at somebody whose beliefs are different than yours. You're rather more willing to step back from it and ask more questions of why would somebody be doing something different? What's going on for them, rather than judging them as a bad person. There is a heightened awareness of the beings that you share the planet with. You may find yourself catching and releasing bugs rather than killing them, that type of thing. There's a lot of people who hate spiders, and you'll kill it on sight, and instead you may be more willing to get a cup and something to cover the lid and catch it and release it outside, because its life is not any more or less important than yours is. My profile picture is my Millie. Aw. Yeah, I can't see that in the YouTube chat. Hi, Tanya. You can comment, sweetheart. Yeah, it's too small for me to see it in the chat, but I can only kind of see the color a little bit. So, I have agreements with the spiders in my house. Oh, no, I didn't get a phone call. I don't know what that was, Sandy. I heard it while I was talking. No, my cell phone's clear. I don't know what it was, actually, unless it was something on my other tablet, maybe. I don't know. Keep befriending flies. Yeah. So, I have agreements with spiders in my house. If I don't know what kind of spider you are, I will look you up and see, are you something poisonous? Can you hurt me or my animals? And if not, then, okay, you can stay over there. Just don't get carried away with the webs. And don't be crawling down, on me or too close to where I sleep, etc. But you can stay in that corner. You're cool. And if I take a shower, the bathroom can be yours the rest of the time. But when I come in and the water gets turned on, get out of the way, because I may not see you to save you. I try, and I always feel bad if I happen to wash them down without seeing them because I didn't see them. But I feel bad that they died and I didn't realize it. I didn't mean to kill them. So it's a recognition that, you are connected to all things, and that your life isn't necessarily more important than others, or just killing it just because it scares you. I don't like spiders. I'm not going to lie. I don't like them, but I respect them, that they are unique beings that are very interesting to watch how they build their webs. You can learn things from them and how they do things. But do I want one crawling on me? Oh, hell no. They're creepy to look at it up close, but their life isn't more important than my life isn't more important than theirs. And most of the time they're reacting instinctively out of protection, not to hurt you. There was a Skype call on my end. Oh, okay. We were wondering what that noise was. We couldn't figure it out, Katie. I heard it too. I was like, wait, what? Aaron, a.k.a. Loki, correct. Yeah, I heard it, but I was talking when it came in, so I didn't totally hear it. I'm half deaf on both sides anyway, literally. I'm moderately deaf, so my hearing in processing sounds is different. So by the time I heard it, I was kind of like, wait, where'd that come from? Okay. So you become aware of your connection to the planet, where you realize, for example, throwing away the mentality is no longer acceptable to you of the mentality of of what is no longer necessary, and stepping back again without judgment and looking at something further for more detail rather than being so quick to judge. They're creepy and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky. They're all together ooky, the Addams family. Yes, well, but even that's, that's judging them. Who said spiders don't scream? Correct. Like their lives are equally valuable to mine, and there is an interconnectivity to all living things. A very wise elder in, I believe, it's either the Algonquin or the Sioux tribes, forgive me if I get it wrong, but Chief Seattle, who used to go and speak to Congress all the time on behalf of his own people, but all people, trying to get them to understand that, we are simply one strand in the web of life, that what happens to the one strand will soon befall the rest of the web, meaning all things are connected. They understood that. And so killing out and wiping out species for fun, whatever, it's going to have an impact on the rest of it. And what befalls them will soon happen to us. And to have that awareness of, hey, you are interconnected and you can't just go doing that. You have to be responsible with stuff. So things of that nature, of stopping and thinking before responding, and don't just respond out of fear because you're scared of something. Well, if you're afraid of it, think how afraid of it is. And if something that much bigger than us came along, we'd respond defensively too and run and hide or try to protect ourselves as best as we could. But, it's not about that. It's still a life, and their lives are no less important than ours are in the grand scheme of things. And if it wasn't for spiders, our world would be overrun with insects that would take over the world and probably block out the sun and kill off all our crops, and it would take away our life as we know it. So spiders play a valuable role. I have a phobia of spiders hatching babies in the house. What really is always using that is if I see you with an egg sac, that is an automatic relocation, and I will catch them and remove them to outside if they have an egg sac. So I don't need 10,000 of them running in the house, but as long as they stay out of the way and don't get carried away with their webs, it's all good. And you're not anything, poisonous that's going to kill me. But again, I don't want you crawling on me or, hanging over my bed while I'm sleeping or eating. But, you stay in your corner and we're good. I'm willing to share my environment. I love the red babies. Yeah, I've seen those before. I don't know what kind of spiders they belong to, but. So number 3 is letting go of attachment. These are how you define yourself, like by the materialistic things you have. You become aware of the veil of the beliefs that you had from friends, parent tapes, what science tells you. And once you become aware of the veil, it becomes more transparent to you. It's still there, but you can see through it more. I have a daddy long legs. I've hence named Hank. Yeah, daddy long legs are harmless to humans. They're one of the more poisonous spiders in the world, but their fangs aren't long enough to penetrate our skin, so hence they're harmless to us. Little known fact. So number 4 is you find inner peace within yourself. Now, inner peace is like a magnifier of positive emotions and a wet blanket to the negative ones. It doesn't mean things don't go wrong in your life, but when they do, you're not on an emotional roller coaster of anger and depression and anxiety, etc. And you also work with the law of attraction and understanding what you put out there to the universe, you're going to get back to you. So if you are living in a place, and you can also tell what kind of person you are by that, who and that which surrounds you. So if you are surrounded by miserable, unhappy, drama-filled people, stop and take a look at yourself and what you are putting out into the universe with your own behaviors, actions, intentions, and so forth. And if you find yourself surrounded by very little drama and your happiness, and you are surrounded by people who love you and support you unconditionally, well, guess what? You're in a good place. It's a good way to assess what you're putting out to the universe. And that what you put out is going to come back to you. So if you are constantly on a negative boat ride through everything, to where everything is from a place of depression, and why is this always happening to me, residing in the victimhood stage, in the victim consciousness of everything, and poor me, why me, and instead ask yourself, what is this here to teach me? And understanding that everything is either a lesson or a blessing. And again, what you put out is going to come back to you, and you'll have more positive things come into your life rather than more drama and negativity. I think the red spiders are daddy long legs. I don't know. I've seen the red ones, but I always thought they were a different species named Hank the Spider. Well, hey, that's cool. And yeah, I used to play with daddy long legs all the time when I was little. But it's a good way to judge where you are in your place in the universe. Is, what are you putting out there as far as what surrounds you? If you're surrounded by nothing but chaos and drama and more drama and negativity and bad things happening to you and so forth, well, guess what? It's time to take stock and step back and self-evaluate where you're at yourself and that what you are putting out there. Now, it's not to say nothing bad's never going to happen, because we're meant to face challenges in this life to learn from. That's why we're here, is to have learning experiences and to gain lessons along the way. And what are you going to learn better from, being told something or experiencing something? It's going to stick with you more if you experience it, right? So you kind of have to go through it in order to hang on to the lesson of it, but at the same time, don't get stuck in the negative side of it, of the victim consciousness, poor me, why me, and I don't know why this is happening, and I suck, and I'm a piece of crap, and all that. No, you're going to bring more of it to you. So just don't go there. And, you put out the positivity. And I've experimented with this myself, because when I first heard about the law of attraction and finding inner peace, I thought it was BS. I count myself as a positive realist. So when bad things happen, I'll always say, well, it could be worse. It could be blah, 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 blah instead. And I'm lucky it's not that. But this really sucks. And, kind of be stuck in that. And instead of that, I look at it, sure, yes, it could be worse, but what is it here to teach me? What can I gain and learn from this? Why am I experiencing this? In terms of, there's always a lesson that can be taken away, even from the most negative experiences, whether it's even that you learn that you're stronger than you know, or that you now have the capacity to be empathic towards those who are experiencing similar things. Like, those are lessons, guys, that you can take away to add to your knowing that you may not have had you not had those experiences. Tanya says, I always say, if you're the one having problems with everyone else's, it's you, not them. I had an acquaintance that did this all the time. And that says, I've been reminding myself of what you put into the universe is what you get back. When I start thinking negative garbage, it's true. And that's what I saw was, I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to give myself 30 days. I'll give this a shot. This law of attraction thing a shot. This was going back, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. And I just thought it was kind of BS. And I said, but you know what? I'll stay neutral and I'll give it a shot. And for 1 month, I decided that I would try it. And if I found myself thinking something negative, I would be aware, stop myself, and replace a negative thought with a positive one, even if it was something like negative self-talk, where you call yourself names, where you degrade yourself and you put yourself into the ground. So if I did something wrong, rather than saying, God, you're such a dumbass, I would stop myself and say, well, no, you're not dumb. So you made a mistake. Moving on, like so, big deal. So you made a mistake, so learn and keep going. And, I did start to see a shift where things got calmer and happier and quieter, where I valued it enough to make sure I maintain that. So now if I find myself being out of alignment with things where I'm negative and I'm unhappy and I'm bitching and moaning about things and I'm just grouching at everything, I'll stop myself and I will say, what are you doing? You know better. get back in alignment with things. And okay, so this is why you were grouching, and this wasn't their fault, they're following policy, or this is why this happened. So okay, it happened, big deal, moving on from it now. That was before, this is the now moment, and walk away from it, keep going, whatever, but don't stay stuck on it. And yeah, you had an attitude, which probably led to them having an attitude. And so okay, and for me, 3 things in a row tend to happen as a reminder from the universe that, hey, you're bang out of line here, get back in alignment. So the universe is all about balance. So when something gets out of balance, it's going to do something to rebalance itself. And for me, it comes in threes. 3 is a sacred number to me. You hear me say that all the time. And so when something happens to rebalance things, 3 times in a row, I can count on something happening, 3 things that are out of the norm, which are very noticeable and are attention getters to me, that are just like, all right, I get it. I'm sorry. I apologize to anybody I said anything wrong to today, or conducting myself in any negative way and putting out the negativity. I'm back in alignment. I'm good, happy vibes, and I'm copacetic, and it's good. And then I go on, and things that it stops. Once I take notice of it, pay attention to it, it's like, okay, there's 2 things. Now where's the third? Get it out of the way. Moving on, Let's see. Marianne says, yes, and everything happens for a reason, and where do I go now to make it better? Right. What is this teaching me? Absolutely, Sandy. Tanya said, I had to let her go. Our kids were growing up together, but I couldn't handle her blaming everyone else for her problems and not taking responsibility for her behavior. And that says, exactly. And that says, Donna, you've helped me be more conscious of my negative self-talk and changing it. Well, that's awesome. And if I can plant a seed with anybody, then more blessings that job well done on. That's all I hope to do with people. And yeah, Tanya, you either have an internal source of responsibility or an external. And when you have an internal, that's where you take responsibility for your own actions. You own your own shit and you take care of it and you process it from that point. When you have an external, it's blaming everything in the outside world. It's everybody else's fault and everything else's fault except your own. And it's better to, be the other way, where you own your own shit and deal with it and move on. So absolutely. So you find inner peace is the outcome of that one. But you come to value it too. You're aware of the positive changes, but then you come to value it to where if anything tries dragging you down, you fight it because you're not willing to sacrifice the more positive space you're now in and give it up for anybody or anything. So when you encounter negativity, we always have a free choice to step away from it or stay in the thick of it. We have free will always in all things. And we can even, to recognize, is this somebody else doing something to me that I can step back from and move away from, who's just going to continue behaving that way? Or, do I stay and keep putting up with it, getting more angry and frustrated and lowering my vibration to match their negative side? I most of the time will vibrate away from it and be like, yeah, hell no, I'm not going there. So it's a choice. We have the gift of free will as humans, that we can choose that for ourselves. Getting into a better headspace, making a shift to pay attention to where you're at and put it back into alignment. For anyone who hasn't encountered them, there are a series of videos done on YouTube. There's a woman named Esther Hicks who started channeling. She's a psychic medium. She started bringing through a group of soul beings known as she named Abraham. But they're there to teach about the different aspects of the law of attraction. Check them out. They're on YouTube. They're not that long, but they're individual, 3 to 5 minutes. It's like not a big deal to watch one here and there, but it'll make sense, and it breaks it down so simple to understand. And the people who are involved in asking the questions, they want to make it so much harder than what it has to be. It's not a complicated idea, but it is about choices. Tanya says, I'm an introvert, extrovert. I don't like people, but I'm a social butterfly at the same time. I used to surround myself with groups of people, but not the right people. Yeah, that's being an ambivert. One day I said enough because of all the drama, and now I stay to myself. Karen says, ambivert. Yep. Works out better for me. And that says, let go of what no longer serves you or works for the greater good. Absolutely. Correct. Yeah, you can be both an introvert and an extrovert, where you can tolerate the public and being a social butterfly for only so long, but then you got to withdraw to recharge your batteries, and that's okay. Whereas you're not a full-on introvert where you hate engaging in anything or having a voice, so you'd rather stick your head in the sand than deal with stuff. That's an introvert. You don't want to cause a rough ruckus, so you just avoid everything and avoid making it be a problem or speaking your truth. Where extroverts are like, here I am, world. And believe it or not, I used to be like the most shyest kid in the world. I couldn't look at anybody in the eye when I spoke. I certainly didn't have my voice. I was always very self-conscious because I was kind of made to feel that way as a child, taught that was the way to be. And anytime I would start to kind of grow, circumstances would stomp it back down. So it never had a chance to develop until adulthood, to where I started paying attention and changing it for the better, not wanting to pass that on to my own child. So that was my time to work on me and do the inner child shadow work stuff people reference, and that you can't go on to be the best you if you are letting crap roll downhill to the next generation. Karen says, I'm ambivert too. My current employer had me take a personality test. I came up introvert. They almost didn't hire me for being an introvert. Interesting. Yeah, but over time, I went from one extreme to the other, being a complete introvert to being an extrovert. And now I would say I'm more of an ambivert, because this is my happy medium where I'm in the middle. I value my alone quiet time. If I don't have it, it's noticeable to recharge with. But at the same time, yeah, I enjoy hanging out with people and having in-depth, long spiritual talks with everybody and things of that nature, and doing the show and stuff. But, well, social isolation, Sandy, is different. She says I'm a hermit. That's different than being completely withdrawn and not engaging. You've opened up a lot in the last couple of years. You've had an amazing journey, and it's been fantastic to sit and watch your evolution as a person and come out of your shell. And so, being socially withdrawn, I often, with the whole COVID stuff, I say, my life hasn't changed because of that, because I always social isolate anyway when you're disabled and so forth. You're used to staying home alone all the time anyhow, so it's not a big deal. Tanya said, I don't stay employed very long. People don't like me too much. My longest job was 8 months. I'm a stay-at-home mom now. Why do you feel, though, that people don't like you much? I guess that would be the question to ask, Tanya. So number 5, while I wait for your answer, is you raise your intuition, thoughts, emotions, objects, etc., all have energy. And our spiritually awoken people seem to be more able to connect to that energy on a regular basis, like people having deja vu, for example. That's an intuitive thing where you just feel like you've been somewhere before and experienced something before, when you have nothing to justify it. You're tuned into that energy of a place that is kick-starting off a memory, probably from a past life that you've encountered it, and it's resonating with you, but you're more able to be in tune with that. I'm a lifer at my employer. I help people, and it's fulfilling. Tanya said, people will get close just to push me away, or they like me from the jump. You definitely have, Sandy, absolutely. Well, I would say, Tanya, as far as, why do you feel like people push you away? I guess one would ask. I know for myself, a lot of people misinterpret me, and I'm very much a lover or hate her type of person. Either you love me to death or you hate me, and you find me annoying as hell, or you find me too opinionated or outspoken, or you find me wise and you come to me for guidance and seek out my energy. It's one way or the other, I've found, but I certainly don't tend to think that I look at things from just my perspective. The world is lucky if I shower, right? I'm not one of those to put on makeup and dress up every day. Maybe it's my outward appearance. I don't either unless I'm seen on camera. I mean, even now I'm not dressed up. I got my hoodie on, but I did my makeup and my hair, so it's always there. I just needed you to pull it out of me. But you did the work yourself too, Sandy. So you had the environment through the group to give you universal acceptance to make it feel safe to let it out. But yes, it was inside of you, absolutely. And now look at you. She's my girl. Sorry for the sight of snuffles. So number 6 is synchronicity. Like intuition, it's like a feeling like the universe is trying to conspire to make something happen and is giving us signs of it as it's happening. So like a single act can trigger a chain of events that puts you on your path. So sometimes it's seeing numbers, and some people attribute that to, quote, calling them angel numbers, the 333s, the 444s, 555, or repeating letters and things, or always finding or seeing a certain animal run across or fly across your path, or things like that. It's cues from the universe and your guides letting you know that, hey, you're on track, or hey, maybe you should shift a certain direction, things of that nature. So ways to pay attention to that. Numerology can also help with understanding the number signs, but there can be others as well, like I just mentioned. Number 7, you raise your compassion. Cats are always walking across my path. Interesting. So I would maybe look at the properties of if it's an animal you're always seeing, look at what the properties are of that animal, and how does that apply to your own life. Or is it applicable to your own life? Is there something maybe you should be looking at closer within your own life to maybe self-adjust with? Sure, I just needed a place to feel normal. Correct, and you are normal. Anyone who tells you different, well, they're wrong. You should be accepted as whoever you are in whatever form you're in. As long as you're not hurting anyone else or yourself, then it's okay to be you. Not to break down and use one of those nasty throat drops here in a minute. My voice is starting a little wonky. And help remind me what my normal is. Yeah, no, it's sometimes identifying that, but again, it's through being globally accepted as you without any restrictions put on you. You're just taking at face value for being yourself. Well, you're wonky, Erin, but we love your wonkiness, honey. For those who don't know, Aaron's like my kid brother, and he's like 5 years younger than me, but yeah, we have that kind of relationship. So you raise your compassion, and compassion is action inspired by your empathy, which literally means to suffer with it. You notice that there's more empathy in action-oriented compassion that feels normal and fulfilling. An important area of compassion, too, is self-compassion, which has 3 main components to it. We are normal unto ourselves, Marianne, is what it is. And that each uniqueness is a good thing. So the 3 main components of self-compassion is self-kindness, a sense of common humanity, and mindfulness, being aware that your thoughts have power, your intentions have power. What you put out into the universe has power. And to be aware of what you're putting out there. Whatever's usual for you is normal. So number 8 is removing the fear of death, which we talked about before. that many have a fear of death, of what they're going to face on the other side, and the unknown of it. Of okay, I've been taught this in my belief system, but is that really what's there? All fear generation lowers or is negative as you move into and through your awakening. When consciousness is seen as transcending a physical body, the loss of said body feels less tragic. So you're seeing death as an inevitable and freeing as part of your process, and allows for peace and removes the fear. I could die right now, and my only fear solely would be what would happen to my animals. That's it. I have no fear. It's like, hey, let's get the adventure going. I can't wait to be free of this body and go back home. So there's no fear of it. When is the next full moon? Let's see. The new moon is on February 1st. And for some reason, I have my new calendar I just got set to February rather than January. So I'll have to count on somebody else to look at their calendar. It's the rest of you, correct. And, your soul self is on the other side. Part of it is still within you, but it's not all of you. And you're a physical manifestation of your soul self here. Yeah, I heard about the Mercury retrograde, which, depending on how you look at it, is how it's going to impact you. Me being normal is me being myself finally, instead of what people expect me to be, says Sandy, which is part of your awakening. Again, losing that mask and owning who you are and saying you're either going to accept me or you're not. And if you don't, I wish you well, Right, screw expectations. Like, you don't like me? That's okay. Sorry to hear that. Moving on, like, oh, well, and okay. I don't want to ruin my day if I hear somebody doesn't like me. The full moon's tonight, is it really? Huh. Excuse me, it's getting a little too pepperminty. Too much. Before the show, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to get some more throat drops out. They've been nasty. I think it is tonight. I just saw them and then it's looking pretty full. Yeah, I was glancing out my window because it rises out my window next to my bed, which is something to take notice of, and just glancing over that way and be like, oh, hi, hello, moon. I don't see it, so it must be too cloudy to see it here tonight. I just know it's supposed to be freaking freezing here. We have a wind chill advisory in effect. We're supposed to be wind chills up to 24 below zero here tonight. Yeah, and into tomorrow. Yucky, yucky. So, all right, so number 9 is that it increases your authenticity. So you're more, with your awakening comes a sense of confidence and a deep sense of self-worth. Moon seems bigger tonight and it's got an orange tint to it. Interesting. And even if you can't put your crystals and stones out into the moonlight, you can draw that energy inside to, come in. You just set that as your intention and ask the moon to please send its energy into where your stones are. And, because here in New York, we rarely get to see the full moon we just don't get to have it. One of the perks of living here is it's always cloudy when celestial events happen. So, you can bring it into the energy of it into your home to where your stones are and have them soak up that energy that way. So they don't have to be out directly in the light to benefit from it. Just saying. So increasing your authenticity, with your awakening comes a sense of confidence and a deep sense of self-worth. You no longer feel the need to conform to cultural norms or to be so politically correct. There's a complete satisfaction with who you are and choices that you make. It's not your job to please others or to tread gently, etc. Now, with kindness, yes, of course, be a kind, good person. Don't be an asshole about everything. But at the same time, if someone doesn't like you, it's not your job to make them like you. It's okay if they don't like you. It's not the end of the world, folks. Moving on. And even if it's family members who don't understand you or whatever, put them out at arm's length. There's nothing saying you've got to keep them up close and personal. Put them out there at arm's length. Say, if you can't accept me as I am, then that's okay. Stay over there. And I'll see you next Christmas. Number 10 is flourishing. So awakened people have a level of well-being that's more consistent. There's a mind-body connection which translates into being happier and healthier, which I can say is true. Now, I've always been more of a sickly kid growing up, and anything that I could catch, I did. And the more enlightened I've become and more spiritual, I rarely get sick anymore. And I mean, granted, when I do, it's big and it's badass and it's nasty. However, it just doesn't happen very often, thankfully. I think the last time I got sick was probably 3 years ago. And no, I don't catch the common colds that come along or anything else. So, knock on wood, let's keep that going. But I don't live in fear I'm going to catch COVID whenever I go out or anything else. I know it could happen, but I'm not going to live in fear of it and hyper worry about it, because that serves no purpose other than lowering my vibration. So if it's meant to happen, it will, and if it doesn't, then great. The power of the moon can come through the clouds, right? What others think of us is none of our business, is Tanya, correct? Aaron says, I am far from the normal of society. I am normal too for me, correct. The world needs more misfits, says Karen. Yep, exactly. Yeah, you guys are all correct. Yep, dancing the band. So whatever is unique to you and what is normal to you is enough. I don't have to worry about it any longer. Nope, you're recovering from COVID, and we're happy to hear that you are recovering. And yeah, unfortunately, a lot of residual effects come of that. And I get that too when I get sick with something big. It takes me forever to get back to my normal. But but I'm not going to live in fear of something, of catching something. But you tend to be healthier overall, and you may have chronic pain issues or a chronic illness of some kind, but you're not catching all the germs and buggies out there like you were. You're overall just happier and healthier in general. So how to assist in your spiritual awakening? There's different things you can do to help kind of make sure that you're vibrationally aligned with the universe. You're mindful of where your vibration is, whether it's high or low. I had someone once who did a reading for me who said that they were gobsmacked by me because they had never encountered someone like me before, where my vibration was through the roof, but my soul energy was very quiet and calm and peaceful and kind of like coming home. And I was like, yeah, I know that about myself. And it is, and that I strive to keep it high. Karen says, I just need my brain back. Yeah, it'll happen. Marianne says, exactly. If it happens to me, it's done. Can't change it. Right. But I'm not going to live in fear. I've known people who nearly died from being ill with something else because they were too afraid of going out and catching COVID that they refused to go to the doctor to treat what they did have wrong with them. And I'm like, it's freaking crazy. Unfortunately, I hear you can get it again. I wonder, though, Sandy, if it's not getting it again per se as much as maybe it didn't clear up completely the first time, much like, with any infection. If it's not completely cleared up, it can rear its ugly head again down the road. Or maybe you're a carrier type thing. I don't know. So how to assist in your spiritual awakening? You can meditate. You can spend time outside in nature, which is great to do grounding if you can. And to do grounding work, you you sit or stand on the ground, barefooted if you can. Of course, it's wintertime for much of North America, so that's not a good thing. So if you can, and if you can't, you can do it inside too. It's fine. and go flat-footed and barefooted on the floor, and you're going to visualize absorbing up the energy of the earth into you, much like a tree would through its roots, and having it rise up through your body and through your torso would be like the trunk, your arms are like the branches, and having it reach the top of your head and filling you up. And that's really all grounding is. But even science is kind of saying, yeah, there's something to the benefits of that. So for those who are scientifically minded, yeah, grounding helps. Karen says it can be caught again, but it also play dormant in your brain and come back. Tanya says, how do you all feel about herd immunity? Define what you mean, Tanya. They're still learning. Yep. Immunity is longevity is unknown. Yeah. And you may end up being a carrier of it, much like you can with other types of bugs out there, that you can be a carrier and it lays dormant within you. And then a random time, like staph infection, for example, you can be a staph carrier and not have it active, but down the road something triggers it and it starts back up again. Kind of the same thing with like the MRSA German stuff. So you can do grounding work, spending time outside in nature, not even just grounding with intention, but hiking, walking, going for walks in nature, stopping to, observe that beautiful sunrise or sunset and taking notice of those small, beautiful things that are surrounding us on this planet. I stopped meditating about a week ago, says Sandy, because there was something that happened. I'll get back to it eventually. Okay. Well, I'm here if you need to talk about it, Sandy. Tanya says the theory of herd immunity exposed everyone to it so as to build up an immunity to it, kind of like chickenpox party. Oh, not the only killer out there. Right. I read immunity could be a few weeks to a few months. Well, for me, I'm not too keen to jump on board with getting the vaccine because not enough longitudinal studies have been done to prove that it's, there's not massive, horrible side effects of it. So I'm hesitant to get the vaccine. Just saying. Now, I'm not against vaccines as a whole. I get the flu shot regularly. I get the pneumonia shot. I, get my other vaccines are up to date, but, they're more well-known than this. This was kind of rush production type of thing out there. And it does, like the flu, keeps evolving and changing, and different strains come out that it doesn't even cover to begin with. So, yeah, I'm not going to do the injection. So, laughter, that also raises your vibration and releases natural endorphins within you. Dancing is a good way to also, again, raise your energy and your happiness level. Music in and of itself has the power to make you joyful or make you bawl your eyes out, depending on the song. So, yeah, just had me measles shot 4 weeks ago. Yeah. Last time I went to the doctor, I got my flu shot pneumonia shots that had been over 5 years. And in the past, and as a younger person, I had several instances of the pneumonia. Tanya said, I've heard docs talk about herd immunity publicly when it comes to COVID. Unfortunately, though, herd immunity will also be exposing the autoimmune and immunocompromised, which means more deaths. Yeah. Sandy said, my sister and I had a chickenpox party and it worked. Yeah, no, I think things like chickenpox, it's better to get it on your own naturally. But at least the healthy will be good. That's what the doc said. Well, it would call the herds too, wouldn't it? So you also can get connected with your community through doing volunteer work. Volunteer at your local animal shelter or soup kitchen, whatever. Go make sandwiches to take out and deliver to homeless people. Things that are outside of you that are reaching out to others. Volunteer. Practice gratitude, counting your blessings every day, because even when your life seems miserable, there are still things to be grateful for and that you have, even if you're not giving them credit for being in your life, they're still there. Karen says, my psoriasis helped me battle. Sandy said, love music, gotta be upbeat though. Tanya says, neither of my kids have had chickenpox 14 and 9. Wow. Yeah, I've often told the story that, my daughter, when the chickenpox vaccine came out, I spoke to her care provider at her well baby check and said, what do you think? I'm thinking it would be better to catch it naturally and, develop natural immunity. And this just came out, and so little is known yet about long-term effects. She agreed with me, so we never had it done. And then come around about fast forward to 7th grade, she was the last child, I kid you not, in her entire school district that had not gotten the chickenpox vaccine. And I suddenly get a letter from the school saying unless she gets it, she can no longer attend public school. So the government was forcing me to give my child the vaccine. Where I was looking at it as, I'm aware she hasn't had it, but you know what? If you've eradicated it in the rest of the population who got the injection, then what is there to worry about? Who's she going to catch it from? So I wasn't worried, but the school made me get it in order to allow her to keep attending. Always grateful for something. Absolutely, Sandy. Even if it's that you're breathing today, or that you have a roof over your head, you have food to eat, even if it's not necessarily the food you want, it's food. It's sustenance to keep you alive, your animals, whatever. Find something to be grateful for and count your blessings. That is going to help in your spiritual awakening as well. Slow down. Life has us so fast-paced and moving all the time now that, we don't take the time to slow our asses down and to appreciate the now moments. We're always, when we're doing stuff, we're always on to what we got to do next. And we're not present in the moment of things. And we often miss those now moments because we're not giving it our full attention, and we're already going on to the next thing instead of taking our time and being now, here and now, one-on-one, face-to-face, in the now moment, experiencing and handling whatever's in front of you, and then moving on to the next now moment. That's what it should be, is just nothing but now moments. And then when you're done with that, then that becomes the past, and then the next one becomes the now moment. Agreed, says Gina. Marianne says, I woke up, which is good. Now, from the Deepak Chopra Center, the 5 stages of a spiritual awakening. Number 1, glimpsing spirit, the call to adventure. This is the start of the break from everyday life as you have known it. It catches your attention and starts to lead you in new directions. Every life has a moment that changes everything forevermore. You start to become a conscious participant in your spiritual path and evolution. And that says, I'm really hesitant to get the COVID-19 vaccine because I don't know if it would cause flare-ups with my chronic stuff, especially the IC and the fibromyalgia. Well, exactly. There's a lot of unknowns about it. A subtle shift in perception has taken place, and everything feels the same, yet oddly is different at the same time. I think that's a pretty accurate assessment of what it feels like to have your awakening, where you start to slowly shift and change, and before you know it, you're aware. You're aware that there's more than what you've been led to believe. There's more to around you of everything. You're not limited to just as a rushing thing that society places on you. You are in the now moment and taking stock of things, and you're not stuck in just politics or the daily grind of work and being stuck in a rut and everything blah blah blah, same old routine, I'm bored and blah blah blah. You're taking stock and taking notice of how far you may have shifted and come before you even knew it was happening. Sandy, wait a second. Gina says, I was listening but went to sleep thinking I was listening but sleepy. Go take a nap then. Sandy says, when I woke up this morning, there was a tiny dusting of snow on the ground, and I had to go out barefoot and stand in it. I always try to if it snows. Nice. Tanya said, I feel it's highly underdeveloped and undersearched. I don't know if I want to risk it with the COVID vaccine. Right. They force people here to. Same here, Tanya. Yeah, no, there is talk and fear of that if if you don't end up getting the vaccine, that the government could intervene to make life, more difficult in terms of you can't participate in your regular life or activities, or say if you are on disability or you're retired and get Social Security, whatever, that they could, tamper with you getting your monthly living cost of living stuff, your money every month, or in a timely fashion, unless you break down and give in and get it, and making you do it, much like they did with making my daughter get it in order to keep attending school. Like they kind of forced my hand with that. So number 2 is closer examination, choosing a path. This stage can feel unsettling and unfamiliar. Everything you once thought was fixed and stable can be called into question. At this point, you may set out to find a new way or path or philosophy that will remap your worldview. Often it's marked by a period of info gathering, self-study, and delivery into other religions or psychology. So you may start to explore to figure out what's the right path for you. You can change your belief systems even in some cases. If you find that you maybe have outgrown your foundation of beliefs, you may go looking to see, okay, is there something else out there that more settles with me as a universal whole that feels right to me, rather than what my parents said I had to be and following in those footsteps. You go on to learn and explore on your own to find your own way of what is right for you. And that's okay to do. It's not about, I've heard the arguments on the other side of that, of, that it's not about finding what is right to you until it fits. It's, following the law the way it's been presented. Well, but how it's presented changes, and how humans interpret said laws has varied, but the message is the same everywhere you turn. Ultimately, when you break it down, it has to do with love. Different aspects of being a loving, caring person, being a good person, and being more mindful outside of yourself. So that's a universal message in all religions. So at that point, there's nothing wrong with finding one that better suits you than the box you may have been put into by your parents or your family, I think. And I did my own time exploring through the years and figuring out what was the right one for me. Sandy said the government sucks in that respect. They should keep their nose out of your personal business. I agree. Absolutely, I agree. And even with the whole, the COVID panic of things, with, resonating and instilling fear in people, again, it's not that much different. I still stand by that. It's not much different than the flu, with the, how quickly it can get passed from person to person. In addition, like, how contagious it is and how it keeps mutating in the length of time. And many people had it without even realizing they had it, before it became big news. Yet the world does not shut down over the flu every year. And if with COVID, many, many medical professionals have now come forward and said that, if you come into the emergency room, you happen to test positive for COVID, but you have a coexisting condition, a long-term condition, and say you have a stroke or you die of a heart attack, instead of listing it as heart disease, they list it as a COVID death, which is skewing the numbers. And they're downplaying those who have recovered from it. And it's just, keeping the climate of fear raised on it. I'm not saying it's not serious and it hasn't killed people, but it's not any worse than how many hundreds of thousands of lives the flu takes every year worldwide. So I still stand by that. And it is a choice to shut off the news, step away from your TV. Don't stay hyper focused in on, the unpleasant negative side of things. It's a choice. Again, you have the choice. And I have met many empaths who were really struggling with that when COVID first became widespread news. I can't shut it off. It's everywhere you turn, and I'm so depressed. Well, no, you can choose to shut it off. You can choose to walk away. Yeah, I get it. It's all within all media. Well, then, shut your damn device off and walk away. It's okay. And it's a choice to choose to listen to it and reside in that place and have it lower your vibration to where you are living in that fear level, or to stay outside of it and choose not to let it lower who you are and doing what you're doing. I keep aware of what's going on out there, but I don't have to wallow in it and, have it swallow me whole in order to have that knowing. Aaron says, the only thing I believe is worse than COVID rather than the flu is the long-term after effects. But the flu can do that to you too, Aaron. I mean, I had the flu once as a teenager, and then I had it, that was actually what I was last sick with about 3 years ago. And oh, I thought I was dying. I prayed for a quick death both times. It was horrible. It was miserable. I was so sick. But it took me a long time to get my stamina back, to get my breathing back to normal, to get energy levels back, my concentration and focus. I mean, yeah, it's not that much different in that way, I don't think, unless you have a condition that makes you compromise towards that stuff. If you have a pre-existing health condition that makes you more susceptible, then sure, yeah, it's harder, and there's a higher death rate for those folks, but they're just not counting the death toll accurately. Sandy said, I experimented with many religions too, and I chose a bit of all of them. Absolutely, that's just what I did too. And even though I may say, if I had to put a label on me, which I'm hesitant to do, that I'm probably closest to Wicca, but it's not like the end all be all. I'm also a medicine woman. I'm also a wise woman. I'm also, a spiritual teacher. I mean, it's a bunch of different things and titles, and they're all just labels and boxes that you can put yourself into. So it doesn't really matter what you call me. Marianne says, same here. Yeah, I was given that freedom as a kid to make that choice for myself and find what was right for me. Aaron said, I'm one of those who believes that this was a lab-created virus, whether it was accidentally or purposely released, I'm not sure, but that's what I believe. No, I think it was, and I think they were toying with it to see what it was capable of, and they just didn't realize just how contagious it was. It wasn't meant to get released. However, there is that thing too where it is listed on older cans of Lysol that were released long before this became mainstream news. If you looked at the list of things that Lysol killed and against, COVID was listed on the older labels. So it's been around for a while. Nature's not necessarily evil, but it is harsh reality. She don't play games. She doesn't put on a bow on something that doesn't deserve it. But there are many other of those animals that are carriers for illnesses that are transmutable to humans. So it's not limited just to bats. I mean, I heard that theory, and to me it just doesn't resonate as the truth of the matter. So I don't know. I just don't think it started with them. All right, it's a mutation. So you do. Okay, so with like choosing your own path, I don't know why I flipped over to the other side. Closer examination in choosing a path, this stage can feel unsettling and unfamiliar. Everything you once thought was fixed and stable can be called into question. This part, you may set out to find a new way or path or philosophy that will remap your worldview. And often it's marked by a period of info gathering, self-study, and delving into other religions and or even psychology. And you go on to seek to follow what path is right to you. Aaron says, yes, I'm perfectly okay and accept others' views and opinions. Yes, you do. Yes, cows got it, I believe. Karen says, I hope it mutates and stop affecting humans. That would be nice, but we don't want it to affect the animals either, because then that affects our food sources, and that's not any better. So needs to go into remission globally. How's that? So seeking, following your path. This step calls you to be a spiritual seeker. Once your path has been found of what's right for you, regular practice, study, and discipline serves to take you deeper towards expanded awareness. The stage is marked by a self-referral, where your identity begins to shift from your ego to the internal stillness, intuition, and more guidance. You begin to know yourself as a soul being living a human life while continuing toward progressive growth of your consciousness and expanding your consciousness. I think should be added to that. Yeah, I mean, I've heard all the theories of. I don't think it was just the bats though, but bats are carriers of illnesses to humans though. So two markers to let you know if your expanded awareness is underway. The first one being you have a higher sense of lightheartedness, happiness and joy are your status quo, and lets you know you're in alignment with the universe, and which I've talked about throughout the show, that when you're out of alignment, the universe is going to seek to cause balance to happen, to put it back into balance. Everything in the universe is balance: good, bad, light, dark, happy, sad. Everything's about balance. And so if you're out of alignment, well, you're going to have things occur around you and in your environment that to let you know, and you have that choice at that point to stop and switch to and raise your vibration and to get into better alignment with the universe. We're meant to experience happiness and joy, not to say constantly, and that we're not meant to also experience what sadness is and pain, but we're not meant to reside in that place. We're meant to live more in happiness and joy than the negative side. 1918 flu mutated and went away, crossing fingers, right. Aaron says, my balance is just as wonky as I am. Karen says, curious audio book on the flu. Yeah, no, it is actually, I got curious. Okay, not curious. Yeah, no, it is. It definitely is mutated, and different strains come and go of all illnesses, and it adapts to the environment a lot of times. And if anything, that should allude to that even on the cellular level, all organic things have its own conscious awareness. In order to keep up with the changes in the environment, it mutates. So think of it in that term, that even on the smallest cellular level of things, it has its own consciousness and soul self that continues to evolve and change and grow within the parameters of what it is. A bluebird of happiness just landed on the power line right outside my window and looked right at me. Well, there you go. So through that alignment, you remove mental, physical, and energy blockages that are in your way to your desires being fulfilled. And again, this alludes back to the law of attraction. Now, there are 12 laws of attraction. I've posted them in my group, Willow's Bend, many times, talked about them many times, and they can be found online. Just enter in the search bar, what are the universal laws? And they are things that are accepted across, no matter what your belief system is, they are accepted as truth because they resonate and speak truthfully to how we're meant to conduct ourselves while we're here, and how things we're supposed to be aware of and to follow that path. And so it's the law of attraction being one of them, that what you put out is going to come back to you. Brought a huge smile and feeling of peace. 1 second. 1 second on having that huge smile and feeling of peace. So there's the law of attraction. Again, there's a whole bunch of others, from law of compensation, law of awareness of self, law of basically treating others the way you want to be treated, like the golden rule stuff. I mean, there's 12 of them. Then there's a total of 21 sub-laws below them. But again, they're accepted universally, that this is the way to carry yourself. And I think that is the same rules that soul beings live within and reside on the other side of the veil. But again, we wipe our memories before being reborn into a new life. So we forget all that stuff and we have to relearn it again. And that's okay. It's all part of the journey. So number 4 is loss of sight, losing the path. This path isn't without struggle. There are barriers in your way of important turning points in your life. These can come in forms of enemies, rivals, life circumstances, or setbacks that block your passage forward, that make you question your path, can even lead you to giving up on your quests. And those are the times when you have to step back and recognize it as it is, of the what is it here to teach me, because most of those are lessons that we arranged in our soul contracts to take on going forward. Yes, that's what I'm saying, that there's 21 sub laws, Sandy. Yep, correct. And that, you have to step back and say, what is this here to teach me? Because we designed those struggles to occur to teach us stuff. And it's up to us to stop ourselves in the moment to be able to step back and see it as, this is here to teach me something. What can I take away from this? What can I gain from this? And it is an understanding that you move forward with. And it's a choice you make or not to step back and look at it. So it's not always going to be, sunshine and daisies, but at the same time, once you learn the lesson, you move on and you keep moving forward. You don't stay stuck in that place over the tragedy and turmoil of it, the victim consciousness. You move through it and onward to heal. Allow yourself to heal from it and keep moving, not stay stuck in it. And then it is a choice. You may need to learn new tools to deal with it in order to process it. However, it doesn't mean you can't. And people will say, I can't do that. Well, yeah, you can. It's a choice you have to make, whether you're going to commit to that or not. And it's okay to be scared of living within a different reality. People get so used to carrying that little wagon behind them of trauma and suitcases and baggage of past traumas they've had, and letting them go is a scary thing because they've always carried them with them, rather than working through them, taking back the power that got taken from you, using it to empower yourself and finding your own voice. And then those things can be put away in order to move forward and be more in the now moment rather than stuck in the past, and to actually be happy and to recognize happiness. Everyone's experienced it, they just don't necessarily recognize it as such when they are experiencing it. So they think, I don't know how to be happy. Well, yes, you do. It's a natural thing that occurs, and either you're going to allow it or you're not. And if you aren't willing to allow it, you're not willing to face your past yet, then you know what, you're not ready, and it's okay. Moving on to the next person. Depends on what Dom you go to. Oh, you're funny. Almost stepped away several times. Right. And, that can happen. And it's a matter of recognizing things as they occur for a reason, and the why behind them, and what it's there to teach you. And that to understand that, again, you devise those things to occur on the other side as part of your soul contract of what you would experience, of what you need to grow from to continue evolving as a soul being. And we're having a human experience because it presents unique perspectives that you may not be able to get in other realms with doing stuff. Yes, I knew that reference. I knew where you went with that one, Erin. So you may feel lost or helpless, like it's called spiritual blindness. And these things are your ego that fears its own extinction. So it tries to fight back by stalling your progress. Remember, as Robert Frost said, the only way out is through. And that's true. Oh, Lord, Erin. Number 5, seeing, which is merging the path, or merging with the path. You're no longer striving to see, you do see it. So you're not working towards it, you realize you can and do see. And you emerge into a state of unity. You awaken to your true, immortal, boundless soul self. You continue to let go and peel back the layers till only the pure beingness remains. So that's basically the gist of the journey of having your awakening occur, um, in a nutshell anyways. So at that point, you have to ask yourself, am I already experiencing this, and in what stage am I in? A lot of people, when you spell out the different stages, they end up kind of looking at it in terms of, I'm stuck at this stage and I don't know why. But at the same time, they're not really that closely looking at it of, why am I stuck in this stage? What is holding me back and causing me to stop moving forward? What am I afraid of? Ultimately, it usually comes down to a fear of the unknown, of letting go and trusting. You know, like when you have gifts of any kind, there comes a point where it's normal to question, am I just telling myself what I want to hear? Am I making it up? Am I crazy? And, you know, once you're able to completely give that trust over to the universe, that no, you're not making it up, and that you are genuinely experiencing it, and putting that trust in your guides, that they're here to help you, and they follow you from lifetime to lifetime, and they're not here to take you off your path, but to help you through it, and trusting what you get told. You know, I listen when I get told something. I've reached that point in my own evolution to where I listen to what they say. If they put a limitation on me, well, you know, right now you're not allowed to know that. Okay. Okay, Karen. So another 16 common signs or symptoms of your spiritual awakening, to also kind of figure out, are you in it already? Because some people, it can happen without even realizing it's happening to you. Marianne's buffering too. It's all just you, Aaron. It's for getting dirty minded. I see my YouTube feed is now no connection, tap to retry. Okay, that was weird. Yeah, I did kind of, for a second, do it on my YouTube chat. So, things to ask yourself or be aware of, hey, am I already having my awakening and I didn't realize it? Which can happen, where you just suddenly realize, hey, I've been shifting and didn't know it. So, number one, you may have a strong desire for a shift in reality. You want something different, out of the norm. You're recognizing that you're in a rut and you need a break from it, and you want something different. You want to expand and to grow your consciousness and to get out of the norm. And you're tired of being that hamster on the treadmill type deal. So, you know, you want to have a shift in your reality of how you view things. You're interested in closing the gap from a sense of separation to being one with all that is. And that goes back to the kind of connectivity to understanding the source energy, or the connection to the source energy, that even if I don't necessarily know what it is or have a name for it, there is something out there bigger than me, kind of has created everything that's here, or all that is. And some have a very distinct view of what that source energy is, but it's that having that connection there. Having a spiritual awareness of the reality beyond the physical senses, which then at that point you're kind of getting into, it's an age-old discussion on, you know, whether a lot of people say everybody has gifts. People will say, oh, I don't have any, I can't do that, I'm jealous, I wish I could do that, or no, I don't want that. We all have the capability, I think, to tap into it. How it manifests is going to be an individual thing, from what I've watched and seen. You know, because I've always had an interest in how gifts manifest differently. So you can have 5 psychic mediums sitting in a room together, and they're all going to interpret and experience incoming information differently, even if it's the same information, because you're going to have it be influenced by your foundation of beliefs and what your own personal perspective on it is, what kind of relationship you have to your guides. It's all going to be a little bit different, but it's still doing the same things. So it'll still be under the auspice of having gifts and accessing them. I mean, even being a really good person in today's world is a gift, and many don't recognize that. They think the only gifts you can have is being a, psychic medium, which isn't the case. Marianne says, "Oh my God, yes." Aaron says, "I always wanted something different from my parents, forced my brother and I to go to church. I hated it because for me, I didn't believe it. I felt it was BS. Because of that, I hated anything that was Christian or spiritually. I felt they were connected. I had given up on anything and became an atheist." Karen says, "I'm happy the church agreed they weren't right for me." Yeah, but then you kind of came full circle, Aaron, and started seeing there is more to it. So, when it's forced upon you, yeah, you may come to resent that path or secretly have different beliefs than what's being taught to you, but you haven't learned to have your voice yet or be strong enough to have your own voice to voice the difference of opinions. And I hear that all the time of, "Oh, I'm afraid to post this on my wall because of my family seeing it or knowing that about me." It's like, so what if they know that? Like, why can't that be okay? And many people are afraid of their parents' reaction, family's reaction, or the drama it might bring them. Instead of just saying F it and it is what it is, they look at it as, I'm worried what people are going to think. And that's up to an individual choice. It's nothing anybody else can impact. If you don't feel safe doing it or owning it yet, then you're not there yet. It'll happen eventually, but I had a voice and used it. My parents didn't care. A lot of parents were like that, though, Aaron, where they believed that going to church under a certain belief system was the only way, and any other way was wrong except for those beliefs, and forced it on their kids. And I thankfully was lucky enough that I was given the choice when I got to a certain age to try things for myself. I tried a few cults. Were they good ones or bad ones, Karen? And I'm glad you got out of them and you didn't drink the Kool-Aid. So you can have a deep sense of inner peace, joy, and relief. Like, I am content, recognizing you're content. A trust and surrender to the flow of life, that you're part of it and it's okay. And it says, the funny thing is, I found out they didn't like being called cults. Who knew? No, they don't like that. And so the funny thing is, neither of them believe anything about the church now. Interesting. I wish that had happened when I was a child. I tried multiple religions, says Karen, and said, F that. Yeah, I mean, you find your own path and what's right for you. And no one foundation of beliefs got it 100% right with mainstream religion. You grow it, you expand upon it, and that's more closer to the truth of it, rather than the exclusivity that my way is the absolute only right way. And if you believe in anything else, you're going to burn in hell. Well, my experience as a psychic medium is that hell does not exist in the typical sense of it. So, just saying. So you gain an awareness of your eternal nature, that there is no beginning and an end. Energy doesn't die, it just changes forms. Becoming aware of one's own power in the creation of reality. So thought, emotion, and intention create. There are those I've noticed that seem more gifted with that than others are, where they simply have to think something and it happens, and it freaks them the hell out because it's usually not something good that they're wishing to have happen to somebody around them because they're angry or whatever. And so they have to be mindful of what they put out there because it creates very easily. But yes, it's a collective thing to where all of us have put in our energy and our intention through the generations to build the reality in which we live in and what we accept as socially acceptable, responsible, etc. All that has been a collective energetic experiment. So it's going to take that collective shifting to a higher place to make changes happen in our now reality. It's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in our lifetime, but we're seeing the beginnings of it. I was 8 when I left my first church, says Karen. I wish I could have Karen. My parents wouldn't listen. I start a cult. My phone went to chat wackadoo. Cindy says I was too, Karen. The reason I left is because the clique of the rich girls locked me out, so I've never been back. Yeah, I mean everybody has certain experiences that can lead them to leave their foundation of beliefs and go forward to see what else is out there that feels more like the truth for them. And there is no right or wrong answer with that. And I don't ever push my beliefs on anyone else. If you want to reside in the same space I am, I try to keep things neutral and to not take a specific side, but to say this is my experience with it. This is how I've seen it, and that's all I can speak to. They didn't like my questions. I asked too many logical things. Me too, Karen. And it says now I don't hold resentment towards them for it. They were doing the societal thing. Yeah, many church things and parents were back then, but I think that you should have a choice in deciding what's right. Sure, learn the foundation and have an understanding of it, but then from there, yes, you have to make it right for you and what feels right to you, not what's right to your parents or 5 generations back. Do what's right to you and don't let anybody tell you you're wrong. You're not gonna go. A lot of times, like I said, there's a belief that my way is the only right way and anything else is wrong and you're gonna burn in hell. Well, I've seen no evidence towards that. I'll say that. I lucked out with my mom, says Karen. Aaron, just be grateful you didn't grow up in Utah, says Annette. Yeah, with the Mormon church. She knew I was different. That's good. I attend the Church of Mother Nature. Now, a lot of people find more peace, being out into the creation of nature rather than a building that you go to once a week on your best behavior, but you have to dress up to be fitting in there. And then you go back home in your private lives. You close the door, and you loosen the tie, and then you had to grab the bottle of liquor, drink yourself into oblivion, beat your wife and your kids, and you live a dysfunctional life that is not where the true beliefs reside in. And it's something you do once a week. Well, no, those people are not in alignment. They're not on their path or having their awakening. So you're surrendering to the great mystery of things and realizing there is no right or wrong way. It's whatever is right for you and looking and growing further. Release that which no longer serves you. If it's not doing you any good, why are you hanging on to it? Whether it's belief systems, patterns, habits, whatever, behaviors, it's not serving your greater good, then why are you holding on to it to keep doing it just because it's something you've always done? Something your family always did? Well, is it right for you? That's what you got to ask. My father, says Karen, would drive me to New Hampshire from Massachusetts just to hug trees. Nice. And it says, to me, in my opinion, hell is the physical place you do to when it's winter and the area you lived in is too cold. I'd also keep asking until he broke, says Karen. Either that or hell is actually the city called Corpus Christi. Love trees, says, yep. I have a beautiful little garden spot with a bench my husband created for me. It's my happy place summer, winter. Nice, nice. Awesome. And it can be as simple as that, going out and hugging a tree or acknowledging that the beauty that is residing around you and being energetically aligned to it, and that being, in your own thoughts and organizing and expanding and growing within your own thoughts. And that can be better than any sermon of someone lecturing you for an hour over what you're doing wrong according to them in a very judgmental way. Planting so many trees in New Hampshire. Nice. I mean, that's part of why I stay where I'm at in upstate New York, is it's very similar to New England, where I was from. That I kind of accepted as that, okay, so this is home now, and it's very similar, except I don't have the ocean, which I miss, but, because we're on the coast in Massachusetts. But if I can't get there, then this is second best. It's a lot like New Hampshire is. So I got my woods, I got my mountains, so I'm okay. I miss the sea, but can't have everything. So it's about releasing what no longer serves you, seeing yourself and others in within a new light with love and compassion. Everything you do should come from a place of love and compassion. If it's not, ask yourself, why aren't you? Uh-oh. Damn it. I'm in a freaking show, Autumn. Sorry, guys. Hang on. Sorry. I'm going to have to give her hell when I get off the air. Sorry about that. Somebody tried calling in on Messenger. I don't even know how they could do it when I'm on the air, but they're going to get an earful when I get a hold of them. So I apologize to anybody watching or listening. I'm going to talk to that person when I get done. Sandy, me too. Sitting by a creek, camping, or just being in nature is more spiritual than listening to someone rattle on, says Annette. Sandy says, I do too. It's kind of hidden. So nobody can see me, and I don't have to see anyone, just me and my thoughts. That's awesome, Sandy. Dance naked under the moon tonight. You go, girl. Sandy says, maybe. I would, however, at 24 below zero, I'm going to pass tonight, but, just saying. Thank you. Yeah, that's not cool. I rather, if someone is going to ask to call me or wants to call me, to please ask first, just in case I'm involved with something with somebody else, that when someone just randomly calls, it kind of butts in with stuff online anyway. It's not quite the same as a regular phone call is, because, well, phone calls can interrupt things, but it's easier to kind of say hang on than when you're in certain programs online. It interrupts everything, and so yeah. So Autumn, don't do that. I love you, but don't do that. So anyway, miracles occurring, abundance flooding in the body, healing, relationships improving. You can see all of those things occurring, and recognizing again that you do have abundance around you, and you can set your intentions for more to come to you, in the form of blessings, gifts, or monetary gain. It doesn't have to be a self-serving intention, but at the same time, yes, you can set your intention to whatever you choose it to be. Most light workers choose not to do self-serving ones, just as a matter of recourse, and that in doing so, they happen to come to us anyway, in the form of blessings, gifts, or monetary gain. So we don't seek to set that as an intention to start with, but some do. But, it's not right or wrong type of thing. It's a choice that you make. So beautiful synchronicities happen throughout your days, being aware of them, because I always tell people that the little voice you get inside of you, or that feeling in your chest from knowing right from wrong, or hey, this is a really good idea, or yeah, don't do this. Whenever you don't listen to it, it never ever ends well. It never does. Universally, flat out, when you ignore that, it doesn't end well. At your most basic level, that is your guides trying to guide you in the right direction for your path. And so when you ignore it and you think you're going to go forward anyway and don't listen to the red flags, it never ends well. So it's something to be aware of with that can happen, but it's, be aware, pay attention to it. Donna, that little voice, I got nothing. Exactly. Sometimes you don't have anything. And if you say one more thing, if you'd only stop there, yeah, it is that. And so being aware of it and to recognize the beauty of synchronicities. And I have people messaging me all the time saying, I've been doing nothing but seeing synchronicities with numbers all day, or the numbers this, and this, and this. And yes, that's taking notice of it. And that is, as you should do, because there are messages within there. It's up to you to figure out what they're pointing towards. So you can also have a strong feeling of love and appreciation for your life. Be grateful for what you got instead of always looking at what you don't have and, oh, poor me, and a lack of what you don't have. Well, turn it around and start counting what the blessings you do have. And by doing so, you're more likely to come up on other things that can have meaning and value in your life that can surprise you. Be open to the fluidity of that. And there is an ebb and flow. I mean, I have so many blessings that occur in my life all the time, and I'm aware of them. And sometimes, people can't necessarily afford to pay me monetarily, but I have gifts all over my house from people showing their appreciation for my help. All of them are displayed as much as possible for limited wall space and places to put stuff. But I don't hide them. I don't just stash them in a drawer. I keep them out so I can see them and be aware of it, and be like, yes, that. Like that's from so and so, and this is from so and so. It's an awareness and a gratitude of, hey, this is what has come from this, and they're showing their appreciation, but it's coming in the form of gifts, blessings, or monetary gain. I get my basic needs taken care of. I trust that they are going to be, and they tend to be. It says fire tablet. What says fire tablet, Gina? Saw synchronicities all day yesterday. Did you figure out what it was trying to tell you, Sandy? You will lay into them callers. And it says, my 20-month-old grandson is now calling me on Google Duo. I'm not sure what that is, maybe kind of like Messenger. He giggles and says, waboo for the first time. Aw, that's sweet. Yeah, so I'm guessing it's kind of like Messenger with video chat or something. Those are the blessings to be aware of what's in your life. And again, by taking stock and recognizing every day that you have them and showing the gratitude for that, then it can lead you onward to greater things simply by having the awareness of what you do have and having gratitude for them. And it is enough that you're trusting in the universe that your basic needs will be taken care of and be met, and everything else will come to you as it's supposed to. And that's kind of how I view it. So I don't panic. I don't get all flaked out when something goes on. It's that, the universe will help take care of things and put it exactly where it's supposed to be. I think I'm going to set up a watch party after this to watch that stand-up special. Who's with me? My phone died, and I watched the phone, so when it rings, it freezes. Yes, it's a video chat. Gotcha. You're doing stand-up, Aaron. Isn't he always doing stand-up? Well, he usually sits down for it, but So what do you guys think? How are you guys doing with the process in chat anyways, with your awakening? Or if there's somebody who's listening who wants to call in and talk about where they're at with their process or has any questions about it, the U.S. phone number is 929-436-2866. The meeting ID number is 522-657-2748. And in Australia, it's 612-8015-6011. Same meeting ID number, 522-657-2748. On the Global Radio Enlightenment Global Enlightenment Radio Network. I just totally botched that in my brain because I was making the mistake of looking at comments at the same time. Progressing, that's the best I can say for now. But it is a progress, though, Sandy. It is an evolution that it's not something that you complete and you can say, there, it's done. It's an evolution, but it's a constant fluid thing where it always is going on and evolving. As long as you're not stuck, that's a good thing. I have come across those people who have said that, yes, I get stuck sometimes, or I'm stuck between stage 6 and stage 9, or stage 6 and 7, can't seem to move past there. But they're not really asking themselves, okay, why am I stuck? And for those who haven't met her yet, who may be watching on another platform, this is my cat, little girl. She often will do this in the middle of a show. It's just how she is. Nope, no ball. Don't scratch me. So, but it's one of those things to be aware of, I think. Are you stuck? Have you had your awakening yet? Or does none of this resonate with you? Although, I'm kind of thinking if it didn't resonate at all, you probably wouldn't still be listening to the program if you are. Um, and if anybody has any suggestions of topics they'd like to see me cover on Thursday, you can throw them at me. I can be found mainly on Facebook. I have my own group on Facebook called the Willows Bend, and it's kind of like a spiritually open group along the same lines of what we've been talking about tonight, that everybody's welcome no matter what your belief is. I also have my own page called Beyond the Veil on Facebook. I do readings in there on Fridays, and and then I'm on here on Gorton on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And on Tuesdays is Willow's Bend. And then Thursdays is kind of open but spiritual type of topics. So, I know I got hair everywhere. Cindy, I know it just makes my whole day, even if it's his forehead, the ceiling underneath the table. That's what I'm seeing. George Van Tassel. Oh my goodness, little girl, you're sticking to me with your hair. Can you maybe move over here now, sweet pea? What do you think? Yep, don't rush or anything to move on to the other side. Okay, apparently not. She wants to be held, I guess. I can at least still see the chat. When your tablet rang, it said fire tablet. Oh, gotcha, okay. Oh, there she goes. Now I got cat hair going up my nose and stuck to my lips. It all resonates. Yeah, I think, that I'm kind of, for the Thursday show, I was going to start out doing readings for it, but nobody really seemed interested in that. So I figured I'd kind of go back through and do the some of the old topics I may have covered before in the past, but putting them together to make a 3-hour long show. Chris says the same thing. It all resonates. Yeah. Well, but in George Van Tassel, though, I mean, having just covered Tesla, he kind of just picked up the gauntlet of Tesla's work. Thankfully, I'm not stuck, so I guess that's a good sign to keep moving forward. No, absolutely. It is, because it's an ongoing evolutionary thing. So if you're stuck, it's for a reason. That's something you're not looking at or haven't addressed yet. And it's something that if you feel like you're stuck in your awakening in a certain stage or what have you, stop and ask yourself why, or what do you think is leading you to, get stuck? Why are you stuck? What part of it are you stuck on? What do you think's tripping you up? Be willing to ask those questions to self-examine, because a lot of this is self-examination work, going within yourself, self-checking and seeing where you're at, and being willing to expand your consciousness to understand there is more out there than what we've kind of been led to believe. So, but it's always a work in progress at all times. I mean, I have people who follow me in the group and stuff who are in their 70s, and they're still learning and growing and get excited over stuff. So that's a beautiful thing. I'm going to save this and write this down because I was sleeping. Damn it, Gina, you had one job. Sorry we bored you. No, just teasing. You always fight going to sleep when you should, so that when you fall asleep when you're not expecting to. I'm not really stuck, says Aaron, but I notice sometimes things get stuck to me, like that one damn piece of toilet paper on the public bathroom floor. That sounds like a deeper personal problem than what we have time to cover in here, Aaron. I'm just saying. So I basically have been going through, I don't even know, a lot of old notebooks. I've been doing my Willow's Bend show for over 2 years now. So I've been going back through them to kind of see if I can't. Okay, like last week we did portals and the different dimensions and stuff, and parallel universes. It all kind of melded together. So it's kind of what I'm trying to do with topics, because there's more of you who are not familiar with anything I've done than who are. So kind of presenting it through a new lens, if you will. Of all the people that go to that bathroom, it's me get stuck to. Oh, Lord, Aaron. You just wait until you have your next show, Aaron. Except, I'm limited because I love your wife and I don't want to offend her. So I'd go easy on you, but man, I could open it up. She rolls with it, but Aaron's my little disruptor in the back of the classroom. Just lost your man card. So there you have it, everybody. If anybody, I can always be reached on Messenger under Donna Hawk Who Walks the Land Gorton. That's usually the quickest, best way to get me, because a chat head will pop open and I'll see I have a message waiting and go look, versus, not doing anything or messaging me elsewhere. I may not see it right away if it's in my basic notifications through the page, but I will see it if it's on, in Messenger. I will see it. You must be really delayed and lagging there, Gina, because she got down like 5 minutes ago. Yes, she has to deal with your. That's why I don't hassle too hard in your shows, because of her and not wanting to bother her, but wanting to pay you back somewhat. So yeah, but Sandy says, thoroughly enjoyed the show today, Donna. Quite a difference from the last time I heard the show. Well, good. Well, I think part of it's because you're hearing it through a new lens too, Sandy. You're more evolved than where you were originally when it was done. So it resonated more with you this time, where you could say, yeah, I've experienced that. Yes, I've been there already. And yes, I do that. And that can make a difference with identifying with it. So, yeah. So if anybody happens to have a show topic idea, you're welcome to private message me. Again, you can hit me up on Messenger and Facebook under Donna Hawk Who Walks the Land. You can message my page in Facebook, Beyond the Veil. I'm available through my group, The Willows Bend, on Facebook as well. And let's see what we got. Thank you so much, Donna, for this wonderful show. I love you bunches. I love you too, Aaron. Thank you, Donna, says Annette. This really has spoken to me. Great. Yeah, and that's okay, Sandy, but that, again, alludes to how far you've come. So there you go. Confirmation. And you've been listening to the Global Enlightenment Radio Network. Got it right this time, because I'm not looking at chat to distract me as I'm saying it. I'm getting tongue-tied over it. But yeah, so thank you all for listening in. I appreciate it, and I will see and talk to everybody again next Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. And for the Willows Bend is going to be the show for Tuesday, and then back on again Thursday, 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern time. And that topic will remain to be seen, but yeah. So anyways, thank you everybody who's been watching in YouTube and everywhere else as well. Unfortunately, I can't monitor every chat everywhere, but that's the best places to get me. In my group, in the Willows Bend, on Tuesdays, I watch that chat. Thursdays, I watch the YouTube chat. So heads up to everybody. So thank you, and I appreciate all of you as well, and best wishes and many blessings to each of you. Stay well, treat each other good, be good to each other, take care of one another, and everybody have a wonderful rest of the night. Thank you guys. Love you.